Hot sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Hot sports all plays. Network. Hot sports all plays. Network. We on top of our game. Hot sports all plays. Hot sports all plays.
Ooh, folks, we are fresh off a hot one. Welcome into ASAP Real Talk, the home of the realest talk on the ASAP network. My name is not Chris Brown's father. Alongside with me is Freddie Henderson, Chris Brown, and Coach Cam, as always. Man, if you did not catch the debate between these two gentlemen above me, you missed a good one. I tell you what, I don't know where Coach Cam went, but if you did not catch that debate, man, you missed a good one. Make sure to go back onto the ASAP network page and go check that out. But fellas, it's been a long week. Had a long weekend, Thanksgiving. How was y'all's Thanksgiving?
Man, it was good. I was toe up with the flow up. Man, I ate like 3 or 4 rounds, and I fell asleep 3 or 4 times that day. I finally just recovered yesterday. So, man, it was awesome.
Chris, your Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah, my Thanksgiving was well. It was very, very well. Ate a lot of food. Got to, spend some time with some family. I can't complain.
What about you, Coach?
Nah, not bad at all, man. Thanksgiving, was my dad's birthday, rest in peace to him. So, it was a great time. It's still a great time with family as well, though.
I'll tell you what, man, I was thankful to get to spend some time with my mom and my brother back home, my grandpa as well. But I tell you what, I'm also thankful to be back on the network, man. It's good to be back here for another ASAP Real Talk. And another thing I'm thankful for is our sponsors here at ASAP Real Talk. We're going to start with Suzanne's Paparazzi. Coach Cam, why don't you tell them a little bit about that?
Yes, Suzanne Paparazzi Accessories and Jewelry, home of the $5 jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. Contact Suzanne, or you can go on the website paparazziaccessories.com. Code 160920. Hey, Christmas time is around the corner. We're less than 30 days. Hey, make sure you get on the website and contact Suzanne Paparazzi for your jewelry.
I tell you what, I know, we talk about the $5 jewelry, and we've talked about how you can get something for free around here, but we have finally come to the conclusion for our November Viewer of the Month. Chris Brown, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
It was very, very close. See 2 people in the comments right now, Madison and Kendall. They were the top 2. But the number 1, the Viewer of the Month for this month of November is Kendall Lum. I just want to say congratulations to my guy Lum. Not going to call him Kendall because he don't like that. I ain't going to make fun of him in front of a lot of these people. But listen, if y'all don't know, Kendall Lum is one of my good friends. When I started doing, podcasting, he was really one of my friends that really supported me. I told him I was doing this show. He said, man, I'm never going to miss a show. Never going to miss a show. He's been watching it since day one. He wasn't in the comments at first. Well, I told him, listen, watch the shows in the beginning. He said, oh, I get a free t-shirt. Oh, I'm in the shows. I'm just going to comment now. Look at him right now commenting, man. I just want to say thank you for real, because he's really one of my close friends, and he's been supporting me since day one. He's been supporting the network ever since I joined the network. So, Kendall Lum, congratulations to you. I want you to send me over all your information, and we're going to make sure you get that Viewer of the Month free shirt. Kendall Lum, ASAP Network, we thank you.
So congrats, Lum, on getting your free t-shirt. And hey, Madison's a good friend of mine. So Madison, if you want to keep it up, keep showing up in the comment section. I know you got into ASAP a little bit late just because I did too, end of the month. But I tell you what, it starts right back in December. Chris Brown, tell them how they can do it.
Wear that Viewer of the Month proud. My guy set up.
Last month, Viewer of the Month.
Yeah.
The funny thing is he joined the network.
But listen, we're not listening to Freddie. He's a loser. But all seriousness, All seriousness. If you want to win viewer of the month, Madison, I see you. I got this for next month. Listen, we thank you for your support because you've been supporting us ever since you found the network. So everybody out there, keep commenting, keep liking the videos, sharing the video, sharing the page, liking the page. And the person that does that the most at the end of the month, we're going to tally it all up and they're going to get a very own ASAP Network t-shirt.
Some people may not want to be in the comment section. You know, we love them just the same. If they want to be there or not, we appreciate the comments. But if not, Chris, how can they get a t-shirt otherwise?
I mean, I'm sorry for shaking my head. We're going to talk about why I'm shaking my head a little bit later. But listen, if you want a t-shirt, just message us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Shirts are $25 plus shipping and handling. You're going to get your very own ASAP t-shirt to you ASAP.
All right, Freddie.
And a correction on that, the new shirts.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let them know, Freddie. Let them know, Freddie.
The shirt was originally $25. Now you can get it for $14.99 plus shipping and handling. So you're talking about a discount. It's better than Black.
You don't know. It's good. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. You know, from $25 to $14.99. Listen, thank you to all the viewers. Hit us up and we got y'all.
Tell you what, it's as easy as that. But Freddie, I know we got a couple more viewers. Let's say somebody, you know, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're everywhere around the world. But where else can we be found now?
You can also find us on Anchor. If you was not able to catch that debate on our live, go catch it on Anchor. If you can't catch the show live, catch us on Anchor. You can find all our episodes on Anchor.
What about our folks over there at Misty Meadows? I know we got to mention them as well.
Man, Misty Meadows, Oregon-made Misty Meadows, Jam and more. Check them out at 48053 Highway 101 South in Brandon, Oregon, or give them a call at 541-347-2575.
All right. Is that the bills? Have the bills been paid? We can get into some topics. All right. So I tell you what, typically around here, ASAP Real Talk, we typically kick off with the NFL, but we had a little bit of something else going on Saturday. We had a couple boxing matches that we need to talk about because they were interesting to say the least. Let's just say that. We had Bodu Jack taking on Blake McKernan, and then Jake Paul taking on Nate Robinson, former NBA star, and Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. found their way back into the ring yet again. I'm going to start with you, Chris. What were your thoughts on these fights on Saturday?
Well, listen, I know everybody really wants to talk about two fights, but I'm going to talk about the whole card. Listen, Ortiz versus Segura. And there was a couple of fights. There's one fight I'm not going to mention. It was the first fight. It was a good fight, but I'm going to be honest. These guys were like $120 with no knockout power. They were hitting each other in the face, and nobody could drop. They had good skills. They had good technique. But, you know, nobody was doing anything. Everybody was upset. Then you go into the next fight. I mean, also a good fight. Ortiz won with a TKO. He was putting it on him. I'm not going to lie. Very, very good fight. Okay, then you had, what's his name? Bodu Jack. Dominated this dude, but he didn't. The other guy was fighting. He didn't want to fall. That takes heart. That takes will. But let's get into the two fights everybody wants to talk about. Nate Robinson, he got dropped. He said he's doing it for the NBA. Said he's doing it for his kids. Said he's doing it for all athletes. And he got dropped. Now, yes, when he got dropped, oh, me and my dad, we were laughing. Oh, we were all laughing. Oh, Nate Robinson is a meme. He will continue to be a meme for the rest of the year. But I just want to say this. Jake Paul really ain't fighting no real fighters, so let's not really pipe him up. I know Nate Robinson said months ago, listen, if you knock me out, this is going to boost your career. What is it really going to boost your boxing career? You fought Nate Robinson, who hasn't even been training for more than 6 months. And I'm going to be honest, Nate Robinson needs to put hands on him because his trainer did not train him for anything but failure. He didn't train him for defense. His offense looked bad. He was out there rushed. I truly believe Nate Robinson trained for a year plus that he could be able to beat Jake Paul. Jake Paul hasn't fought nobody. So everybody wants to make Nate Robinson a meme. I was a part of that. He was definitely a meme. Listen, he's going to get memed about. I don't know if that's a phrase, but I made it a phrase. He's definitely going to, memes are going to be made of this guy. But let's not act like Nate Robinson is really a pro fighter. We know Nate Robinson is a great athlete. Boxing is a whole different sport. Nate Robinson can fight, but boxing and fighting is two different things. Okay, so everybody wants to make fun of Nate Robinson, which I was, but let's take it back. Nate Robinson is not a boxer. Jake Paul, even though he hasn't fought anybody, he's been training for like 2 years. So that's all I got to say about that.
So you
Yeah,
he said be memed, be the next Michael Jordan with the crying.
No, it's worse. It's worse than Michael Jordan. This is way worse than this Michael Jordan meme. Kendall, I know you're saying you need honor to be viewer of the month. We're honored for you to be a supporter of ASAP Network. But this is worse. I've been seeing this. He wants to fight Conor. He wants to fight real fighters. I can't wait until that happens, because until he beats a real fighter, I'm not going to think of him as a real fighter. Nate Robinson hasn't been training. Nate Robinson isn't a boxer, so he's not going to get no cool points for that for me. All right, let's talk about this Mike Tyson fight. So who was disappointed watching that fight? Now, for them being true OGs, getting back in the game, I was like, yeah, we love to see it. But watching the fight, I don't think Roy Jones trained. I personally believe I don't think Roy Jones trained, because Mike Tyson came out there and was really trying to box. Roy Jones was punch, I'm gonna hug you. Punch, I'm gonna run away, I'm gonna hug you. Roy Jones wasn't ready for Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was trying to put paws on that brother. He was trying to put the hands on him. Roy Jones wasn't ready for that. He was still hurting from Thanksgiving dinner. He didn't do no sit-ups, no push-ups. He was fighting a lot scared, my friend. He's fighting a lot scared. But listen, these guys are way past their prime, so none of this is going to hurt their legacy. But man, I'm glad they got a payday. But that fight was low-key not entertaining. Because Mike Tyson, and I don't know how it was a draw. I think they called it a draw to save face value, because everybody knows Mike Tyson put hands on Roy Jones. He put hands on that man. Roy Jones would have sleep just like Nate Robinson was if he wasn't holding all the time. Let's just put it out there. I love that we were able to see boxing. I cannot wait till the 5th. We're going to see a very, very good boxing match with Garcia and Spence. We might break that down for you next week. But talking about this fight, I mean, I loved it. Listen, everybody's saying Jones is terrible. That's how I'm going to end it. Roy Jones, I'm glad I ain't spent no money to watch that. That's all I'm going to say. I ain't spent no money to watch it, and I'm glad I didn't.
Freddie, we'll go to you. What were your thoughts on these fights?
Hey, Chris, I was at my boss house. I had a little get together, my little co-workers, whatever, and we watched it there. But the Sega, man, that dude right there, he have heart, man. The dude, he came out, even though Ortiz won, he did not want to give up. He was so disappointed that it was over, because he wanted to come back out there and show you what he had.
Them liver shots, man, they got to him.
Yeah, but man, Nate Robinson. This dude came out there attacking. I said, okay. This dude came out there swinging. He forgot to protect his face. This dude, I mean, I was surprised he lasted the first round.
Snoop Dogg made it worse. Why was Snoop singing, giving commentary? He made it so much like I love Snoop. Snoop, he comments great on everything. He's been on hockey, NBA, MMA. But Snoop's commentary made it 15 times funnier, man. Oh man, that's all I had to say. Yeah. I forgot to say it. It was hilarious.
Yeah, Nate Robinson, like Chris said, you got to check your trainer, because your trainer did not get the job done. I mean, even when after the first break, they should have told you, hey, put your glove or protect your face. There was none of that. And then let's get to this Mike Tyson fight. Man, Mike Tyson came out there. I was afraid. I was very afraid that this dude was going to kill Roy Jones Jr. I said, "Oh man, this dude is going to hurt this dude, because this dude came out there. He was ready. I mean, did y'all see him? How pumped up he was ready? He did not want to stop fighting. He was over there standing in the corner, ready for the next round. While Roy Jones Jr. acting like me, I just ran a mile, sweating up there, got to get drenched with water. This dude was so out of shape that Mike Tyson. It was so bad. Roy Jones Jr. been out the game for 3 years. Mike Tyson's been out 15 years, and Mike Tyson was in better shape than
why Mike was hype. Mike had some substances in the back. Maybe.
I mean that was out of line. But other than that, man, hey, your dad said it. Hey, Snoop Dogg came in and gave him a show, man. Because at first I was like, man, this entertainment is kind of. But when Snoop Dogg came out, I said, okay, here we go. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the fight.
Coach Cam, anything to add to that?
I mean, not much, man. Like I said, I'm glad I ain't paid for it. Thank God for the Fire Stick.
You're my guy. That's why you're my guy.
Thank God for the Fire Stick, man, because I wouldn't have paid for it at all. The card was, I mean, some of the fights were all right, though. It was some action in some of the fights. I'm just going to get into the main, so I won't spend a lot of time on the main two. With Nate Robinson, it's just it was sad to watch. Really, it was really sad to watch, because he didn't have the proper training going in there. You could just tell the way he just came out there and just start throwing punches. I just knew that was gonna end bad for Nate Robinson. And and Shannon Sharp touched on it earlier. I was watching, and I was gonna say something to a similar light when you drop the topics. Athletes from different different sports got to stop thinking they could just do any sport, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't you play basketball, you play football, you play baseball, you don't play fighting. You don't play UFC. You don't play boxing. You go in there, you're going to get knocked out. You know what I mean? Somebody's trying to knock you out. And you don't play that sport. You got to go in there and know what you're doing, or you could get seriously hurt. And seeing A. Robinson face down on the canvas, that was like, oh man, that was tough. And for the Roy Jones and Mike Tyson fight, it was how I expected. I think Mike Tyson took this, seriously for his psyche. He wanted to really come back and prove to himself that he could do this and come back at tip-top shape, as much shape as he could be in at 50 plus. He wanted to prove to himself that he could do it. Roy came into it like it was an exhibition match. He was going to look halfway decent, train a little bit, look decent enough to go out there and fight 8 rounds. Mike wanted to go out there to prove that he could fight 12 and knock somebody out. Like, he took it to another level. So you could just tell the difference between the two. Obviously, this was just for show. That's why it was called a draw. Obviously, Mike Tyson won, but you know what? This was from just Mike Tyson's psyche to prove that, hey, I can still get in tip-top shape at 50 plus and still look good, and still fight. So I think he took it more serious than Roy.
I mean, everything that could be said has been said about the two main fights. The only thing I'm going to add is that Bodou Jack and Blake McKernan, that guy's got a hell of a jaw. The fact that he stayed up, I mean, that guy was getting beat down. Well, Blake was sitting there. I mean, he was just taking it, and somehow managed to stay up. Took a lot of shots in the body. I mean, good resiliency to that guy. I mean, absolutely impressive. But I mean, the other two fights have all been spoken for. Basically, all you can say. So. Get into the NFL as we normally start things with the NFL hot takes. I'm going to start with you, Coach Cam. I'm going to go in reverse order this time. Coach Cam, let's hear your hot take on the NFL season.
Now, I'm going to go to the AFC North. It's a team where, it was earlier on the debate that was talking about, the particular coach of this team. My hot take is that the Cleveland Browns will win a playoff game this season. They have the recipe to win in the postseason. They got 2 runners. They can run. Both backs can pop off for 100 if you need to. Late in December, early in January, where you need a run game. Baker Mayfield only going to have to complete a handful of throws. We seen in the playoffs, teams get to the Super Bowl. Teams get to the conference championship games with the quarterback only throwing 12 times, 13 times. I think Garoppolo threw the ball 8 times in the NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers. So it proves to show if you have a good line and you can win in the trenches and you can run the football and you can and complete passes off of play action, you can win in the playoffs. You just need a handful of stops, and that shortens the time up for the other team on offense when you run the ball for 4 or 5 yards a pop. I'm just saying, I'm not saying the Cleveland Browns are the best team in the world, but they have the recipe to win in the postseason with that run game. Just watch out for it. I do believe the Cleveland Browns will win a playoff game this season.
Hey, there you go. At least somebody knows who that coach is out there in Cleveland. Going to Freddie. We'll go to you. Let's get your hot take on the NFL season.
Will taking shots at me, man. What's up with that? All right, it's called hot takes for a reason. That don't mean it has to absolutely be true. But my prediction, what will happen is, beginning of the season, we was talking about, who's going to miss who more? Will it be Belichick or will it be Brady? Will it be Brady? Will it be Belichick? Who's going to make who look great? Listen, man. New England Patriots have had an up and down season this year. They have a quarterback that came back from injury. They don't have the much weapons on the team for them. This team is a below 500 team. Then you go to Tampa Bay, you have a coach who's not coaching right. You have a Bruce Arians who's not taking advantage of Tom Brady. I believe Bruce Arians will be fired this year, and I believe they will find a way to get Belichick away from New England down there in Tampa. And man, we got another dynasty on the making. Do not be surprised. I said it first here from Real Talk.
That's definitely a hot take. I tell you what, that's about as hot as it gets right there. If that can manage to happen, Chris, I'll turn it over to you. I need you to follow that up.
Wow. I mean, you talking about hot takes from a delusional guy. You got it right there. Listen, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I was also going to talk about them. I'm going to talk about two teams that we all thought were going to be favorites to win a championship. That's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Baltimore Ravens. My hot take is that they both will not make the playoffs. My hot take is that after this season, when they both do not make the playoffs, there's going to be significant changes in the roster and the entire organization. Coaches will be fired. New coaches will be hired. Players will be traded. Teams will look different. I mean, when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, I think their OC is probably going to get fired. Some pieces are going to be moved around. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody wants to talk about Lamar, but realize when you play football, there's 11 guys on the field. And then you got guys calling plays. Who's calling the plays? Are the plays the best plays to be called? Then who's out there running the plays? Is it the best personnel? That has to be taken into a factor. Then when you want to look at Tampa Bay, you're talking about Bruce Arians, and he's not getting the best out of Tom Brady. But Tom Brady really isn't the quarterback for that system. You look at the players, they're trying to go. They're trying to go. Tom Brady doesn't have that deep ball arm that he used to have. He's really out there looking like Drew Brees. And then once you start looking like Drew Brees, you're not a top QB in the game no more. I mean, I remember watching game after game after game. Tom Brady's not making the throws necessary for this team to be successful. They have weapons all around, but if you can't get it to them, and then with Bruce Arians, for some reason you have two capable running backs that don't run the ball as much, they don't get the ball as much as they should. So if your passing game's not clicking, you don't want to establish the run. I mean, you ran less than 15 times with two stud running backs. Then I believe that's not a recipe to win playoff games. Your defense is good, but can your offense score points? Because at the end of the day, you look at them against Kansas City. The offense couldn't score no points. Tom Brady, 2 interceptions, bad play calling. So I don't see either of these teams making the playoffs, and I do see significant changes being made for both these rosters and both these organizations.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm glad I went with you last because that segues perfectly into what I was going to say. You want to talk about teams that need to be clearing house. You want to talk about teams that need to get rid of it all, going to change everything about their organization. I'm going to say the same exact thing about my own team. My own team needs to clear house, and that is an understatement. Let's talk about Matt Nagy. Last week on here, I said as a hot take that all three of the NFC coaches not named Matt LaFleur in the NFC North would all lose their job. So far, I'm 1 for 3. Next is going to be 2 for 3. Matt Nagy's not going to make it through the season. There's no way. How do you start off with such a great record and then fall from grace? Yes, I understand this Bears team was overachieving at the very beginning, but at a point, you got to sit there and look at the guy calling the plays, just like Chris mentioned. You got to realize what exactly the problem is. Whenever we first started off in this game against Green Bay last night, we looked good. Mitch Trubisky actually looked like a somewhat decent quarterback. The defense wasn't playing great, but the offense was somewhat clicking. Then all of a sudden, we want to do a play-action deep ball with Mitch Trubisky. I repeat, a deep ball with Mitch Trubisky. Everybody at home knows what's wrong with that statement. And so, I mean, we were sitting there dotting them up. Allen Robinson had like back-to-back or maybe even 3 in a row consecutive passes for about 10, 15 yards a catch. And I mean, the offense was rolling. And then all of a sudden you're going to throw a deep shot against Darnell King, against Desmond King, against Jair Alexander. Like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you doing? This team has fallen from a divisional favorite to a bottom dweller, really pushing to hopefully not make a playoff spot so we don't mess up our own draft pick. But I think the entire defensive front's going to want to get out. I don't think they're going to go sign Allen Robinson, and somebody has to move. Somebody has to change. I mean, this is embarrassing at this point. I thought the only problem was a quarterback, and I am far from correct on that. This is a team that needs to clear house. This is a team that needs to start fresh, and hopefully it'll start by getting Matt Nagy out of the head coaching spot sometime soon, hopefully rather than later. So, yeah, there you go. Let's just talk about 3 teams, get ready to burn it all down. But let's go into the game that's going on right now, currently in halftime right now, as the Seattle Seahawks are in Philadelphia to take on Chris Brown's Eagles. And currently we are sitting at a 14-6 score. I'm going to start with you, Chris. What are you thinking so far of your Eagles in this game?
I mean, I'm not loving it. We have a lot of penalties right now. When I look at the offense, I mean, I was watching the play. You know, everybody wants to talk about Carson Wentz, and this is why I love Carson Wentz. Jason Kelsey snaps it 40 yards over his head, a terrible snap. Carson Wentz is athletic enough to get it, break two tackles, guys coming to get him, and able to throw the ball away. You know, when I look at his stats, watching this while I was destroying Freddie in the debate. You know, by the way, I just want to let everybody know that W over here. I watched so many drop passes from Alshon Jeffrey. I had my feelings about him earlier. I watched Miles Sanders, who I believe is one of the best running backs in the game that can do both ways, drop wide open passes. I'm seeing the offense crumble around him, but he only gets the blame. It's 14-6 right now. DK Metcalf is destroying Darius Slay, but DK Metcalf is one of the best wide receivers in the game. So, I mean, I thought getting Darius Slay would help out. It's not helping out too good against this guy, DK, but I'm going to take my hat off to him. He's one of the best guys in the game. I mean, 14-6, it's really not – the game's not, out of reach. It's not out of reach. The defense isn't playing the best. They're not really running the ball effectively on us. It's really DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson doing what they got to do. Everybody else is irrelevant right now. So when I'm looking at the Eagles team, they, one, need to establish the run. They need to make sure they don't have any turnovers. I mean, on first down, 1st and 10, you want to – this is why I talk about play calling. 1st and 10, why are you not running the ball? When you have Miles Sanders, who's top 5 in yards per carry. We have Boston Scott. Why against a team that cannot stop the run? Why do you want to call up a terrible pass play to make it 2nd and 10, and then the ball goes over Carson? Like, it's just bad play calling all around. But it's only 14-6. I'm not too mad. The game's not out of reach. But right now, Seattle, Russell Wilson, and DK Metcalf, they're unstoppable.
We'll go to you, Coach Cam. What do you think so far this game?
About par for the course for what I think how it would go. If you just look at it there, just not enough offense from the Eagles. I don't think they can score enough to win this game. I'm just looking, DK Metcalf, almost 7 catches, 100, 118 yards, I believe, in the first half. So they're really connecting well. I almost feel like it's almost a matter of time before they kind of bust that thing open there. And it's plenty blame to go around for the Eagles. When I just take a look at them, I think everybody has their hand in it, a little bit. I think it's the line. I think it's the line. Skill position is not helping. And also, I've also, put partial blame on Carson Wentz as well. That pass against the Browns last week and that flat pass, you can't throw that. I know he was under duress, but you can't just fling that ball into the flat like that. That's an absolute no-no. I know you're looking at me, Chris, but that's an absolute no-no. You cannot fling that ball into the flat late like that. Even if you're under duress, you cannot fling that ball. You got to eat that.
I agree with you, but this is just my thing on it. I put it on the gram, over 700 views, over 500 responses from all types of, wide receivers on a college level, some pro guys, some high school guys, some coaches. I said, whose fault was this? We all understand Carson Wentz is not supposed to make that pass. I'm never going to argue that. But Alshon Jeffrey, for him being a guy that's supposed to be a one-on-one jump ball, me versus you type of wide receiver, the dude mistimed his jump. When you got a guy like A.J. Green who's, getting all covered up, at the end of the day, you're going to give him a chance. If Alshon Jeffrey just timed his jump right, he has better position. He's way bigger than Denzel Ward.
No, I'm not talking about that pass.
He's talking about the Taki pick six.
That was horrible. See, they were both in the flat. That was horrible.
I'm not talking about giving your player a 50-50 chance. No.
Okay, see, it was too flat.
No, I'm talking about that play. But
I'll address that. That was a terrible decision. He had Rager wide open.
That was the one.
That was a terrible decision. He had Rager wide open. He didn't have pocket. I will agree with you on that. That was terrible. I thought you were talking about that.
Yeah, just so
that's no excuse on that. He had Rager wide open. I don't care if Rager is facing this way, head this way. You throw it to him wide open. You need to try to throw it late, pick 6. I'm fully. That was a terrible play by him. Terrible.
Yeah. So just going off this game, man. Yeah, it's just I just don't see. I don't see the Eagles getting enough points on the board. Defense is fine, but I just eventually Russell Wilson. I think they get like 24. At least I think they'll get 10 more points this half, and I just don't see the Eagles matching that.
Freddie, your thoughts on this game so far?
I definitely agree with Coach Cam. You have Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf putting on the show the first half. DK Metcalf almost almost copy what Tyreek Hill did against the Tampa Bay the other day, just going off. But let's face it, the Eagles' offensive line is not put together. Their
I'm
weapons
going to
are
show y'all what they're showing,
Yeah,
how bad his
Carson
offensive line is
Wentz.
getting beat.
But Carson Wentz, Chris, I'm they dropping passes. They drop. If the quarterback put it in the hand where you can
It was wide open. I don't
you
want to hear that. They
have
were both.
to worry about it.
Hold on.
You don't have to
hold on.
worry about that.
They're wide
If your
open. The ball's
quarterback-
right in their hands. What are
if
you talking about?
If you yelling, that don't mean you winning, Chris. If you
It's
yelling,
not a debate. I already
take
beat
that.
you. I already beat you. It's not a debate.
that don't mean you winning.
I already beat you, dude.
If
It's
you
not a
yell-
debate.
If you yell, that don't mean you winning, Chris.
I already beat you. What are we winning at
You
right now?
don't have to yell. That don't mean you're right.
Because you're not watching the game.
I
They're
don't
wide
say
open. What the fuck?
All I'm saying is,
I gotta go. I
If
can't.
Carson Wentz can put the ball in the receiver hands, you won't have that problem. You have a Carson Wentz problem. 14 for 14. He's not the quarterback of the future. Hey, Hurts will be in the game soon, Brendan Herrera.
Hurts
Don't
not going
worry.
to do it.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
But you know what? But you know
the quarterback in there now.
But you know what's crazy is though, Chris? Eventually somebody's gonna get scapegoated. It starts with the coach, and then next is the quarterback.
No.
I don't know. I understand.
blame.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying somebody gets the blame. You start with the coach, and you start with the coach first. Then next in line is QB. I'm just saying, no matter if it's right or wrong, that's just a fact.
I understand
So
that.
therefore,
The never gets any blame.
They used a premium pick to draft Jalen Hurts.
That's the
Y'all
thing.
realize our GM can't draft.
If they don't start winning football games, they're going to give him an opportunity, whether you like it or not. It's coming.
Can I just say something real quick? For one, you're right. It should be coach then quarterback, but nobody's giving this coach any blame when he still wants to put a 38-old injured offensive lineman in there, but he got healthy, young, 23-year-old offensive lineman that's been playing better than any other offensive lineman except for Jason Kelsey on the bench. When he wants to put in guys that have had no snaps in the game when he's calling terrible plays. Doug Peterson is yet to get any blame. It just went straight for Carson Wentz. And then when we talk about drafting Jalen Hurts, you realize my GM can't draft. You realize he always messes up draft picks, right?
That's how he rolls, right?
He cannot draft whatsoever. He messes up draft picks almost every single year. The only couple draft picks he got right, you got Miles Sanders, you got Goddard. Everybody else in the past couple years, I'm really questioning. Dillard is good, but everybody else I'm really questioning with these top picks. He really can't draft. And at the end of the day, Wentz is playing bad. But oh my, like you said, it's a coach and quarterback. The coach is yet to get any blame. When the coach is calling plays, when the wide receivers can't get open, I'm cool with everybody wanting to blame Carson Wentz. But the fact that nobody acknowledge, and this is why for everybody now, for all these ASAP viewers, I'm no longer arguing or debating with people that I feel like don't have any knowledge when it comes to basketball or football. If somebody's talking or somebody's in the comments and they really don't understand the game of football, they're saying delusional things like Freddie Henderson, I'm no longer giving it any ounce of respect, any ounce of me acknowledging that comment, because until people understand the game of football or basketball, you won't be hearing any debate from me, because I'm not done talking. I'm tired of talking to people that don't understand sports. It's really getting on my nerves, so I'm done with it. Freddie, you can rebuttal. Promise you I'm not going to answer.
But Chris, you gotta stop. You got to stop running from the blame. You said the coach. You said the offensive line. You said
I always say Carson Wentz at the end. I always say
the biggest piece to the puzzle is the leader. He is the leader each week in, week out. He's the one that's throwing the football, not the coach. There's a lot of times he underhand these throws. A lot of times. You know what I think it is? I think it's because it was when he got hurt. He's scared in that line. He's scared. He's timid at times, and sometimes he throw the ball way too fast. And guess what? If the ball's not there where the receivers can catch it, guess what? Of course they're gonna drop passes. This is not your future quarterback, Chris.
Okay, now
I'm not done yet.
Hurry up.
And then like Coach Cam said, even how bad your GM might draft, they not drafting a quarterback that early just to be a backup quarterback. If that's the case, they wanted a good backup quarterback, they would have kept Nick Foles. So if you're worried about Carson Wentz getting hurt, which it's coming. It's coming. This dude is injury prone. It's coming. Don't. Hey, I'm just saying. I don't wish the dude get hurt, but Carson Wentz always get hurt every year. Hey, I'm pulling for Carson Wentz. I really am. I always like Carson Wentz, but this dude.
Coach Cam, I got just something real quick when he's done. So this is for when I said that comment, and he's a prime example of a guy that doesn't watch football. He said Carson Wentz throws it too early. He says Carson Wentz is timid.
Too late. Yeah,
you were like, no, you said too early. Don't go back on your comment. I'm not. Shut up, Freddie. Be quiet. I'm trying to be nice to you. You realize Carson Wentz has been sacked more than anybody. So how timid is he when he stays in the pocket trying to make a play? Who is he really scared of? He's been sacked more than anybody. He's been hit more than anybody. He's trying to make plays. So for you to say he throws the ball too early, he throws the ball too late. I'm done talking.
He do both.
Cool. You got it.
It's not your quarterback.
You got it. He's always going to be my quarterback. What are you talking about?
Real quick before we move on, because I know we can talk about the Eagles all day. But the thing is, this is the biggest thing with Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz. And he's saying, and Chris is saying Doug Peterson is not getting enough of blame. Well, in this case, Doug Peterson actually has more equity than Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. And that's because at the end of the day, I hate to say Nick Foles made that Super Bowl run. So we look at Carson Wentz and it's like, okay, Carson Wentz still got something to prove. Like he didn't do it in the playoffs. He didn't, he's made it to the playoffs a couple times, but has he ever had a playoff win? I don't think so. So therefore, and Doug Peterson was the coach that led him to the championship. So of course they're holding on to Doug Peterson like, okay, yeah, he was the coach that led us to the championship. But Carson Wentz hasn't done that yet. Technically, he had a good year that year. He put him in a good position to give him a first round bye at home field throughout the playoffs. But he didn't. He wasn't the one winning those playoff games. And I think that's where it's different.
Chris want to bring up type of his own answer and put it on the screen. Hey, man. Hey, everybody know how I feel about Carson Wentz. I always thought that dude was the best quarterback in the NFC East when he first got drafted. You go to my post from 2 years ago, I'm a huge Carson Wentz fan. But that's why I'm on the dude so hard, because I like the dude. The dude's a good quarterback. I'm like, what is going on, dude? Yes, you can say your offensive line bad. You can say you're no receiver, but you got paid the money that you got paid. You have to overcome it. You have to overcome and make things happen. Yes, he throw the ball too early. And yes, he waits too late. But he need to make the right plays, man. Come on, dude.
All right, we got to move
back because Madison told me to come back. That's the only reason why I'm back. I'm telling you, I really don't want to be here no more. I can't. I'm done.
I get what you're saying though, Chris. But Doug Peterson got more equity than Carson Wentz.
Are y'all really watching the game right now? He got sacked back to back to back.
No, I'm talking about as far as the fans in Philly. You saying that they don't blame Doug Peterson for nothing, and that's what I'm trying to say. And that's because he led them to a Super Bowl. We didn't see Carson in the playoffs.
You're right.
He got stuff to prove.
But this year, you're right. And this year, Doug Peterson is finally getting a chance to call plays, and his plays are trash. And you're right. He has more equity because he was the head coach. That's cool. And the last thing I just want to say is, sack. Miles Sanders just dropped or was Alshon just dropped a wide open pass when nobody was 15 yards near him. We're done with this topic though. That's all I have to say.
Thank God, because we got a lot of topics to hit, and we are a little bit too far into this already. So let's move on to a different team that took a W this week, the Tennessee Titans. Right now they're playing. They had a good bounce back win against the Indianapolis Colts, prevented the sweep on the season. We need to talk about them and their playoff contentions and where they rank right now. Is this Tennessee Titans team a top 3 team in the NFL? Is that, or where do we want to rank these Titans at right now? Freddie, I'm going to start with you. Let's see, where do you rank these Titans?
Man, they not the top 3. Let's be respectful. Derrick Henry put on a show Sunday night. Did you guys see him? He was running all over the Colts. He did a thing, 3 TDs, like 175. He was doing his thing. He was running all over him. but they're not a top 3 team. They're still questioning on the defensive end. I mean, they have too many questions, on their team to be a top 3 team. You have the Chiefs number 1, and then after that you can put the Seahawks on there. You have Green Bay. You have other teams out there that even without Drew Brees, the Saints are still not 9-2. I mean, let's give them some respect. The Steelers are still 10-0. Let's give them some respect. So no, the Tennessee Titans are not a top 3 team.
I'll go to you, Cam. Where do you think the Tennessee Titans rank? Are they a top 3 team?
I said no originally. And then I kind of looked because we get into that December time, y'all. Football changes. Football changes. And you know what? I know we was talking earlier in the chat and said there's only one answer. Well, you know what? I'm going the other way. They're a top 3 football team right now. I think they are. I think they have the recipe to win. When you can run the ball with a guy like Derrick Henry, who's going to eat clock, the defense don't have to stay on the field long on the other side. And that's what you've seen them in the playoffs do last year. You've seen them get up in games with the run game, be up 10-0 early, 14-0 early. Then you're forcing teams to throw the ball. And when they're scoring, they're eating 7 minutes at a time. It's not like they're just scoring quick. I'm talking about these 7-minute drives, these 6 minutes drive. These are grinders, and Derrick Henry running down your throat. And it really snatches the heart out of a defense, man. Especially when it's December playoff time. They got the recipe. Ryan Tannehill's, I think, is better this year than last year. I think they will, believe in him a little bit more to make those throws off of play action. I think they got something brewing, man. And I think right now, once you look at it, they've got rolling. They've beat the Ravens. Now they've beaten a very good coach team. To take the division lead. I like what I see from them. I think right now they are a top 3 team, man, as far as the way they playing football.
Chris, which one do you side with? Are you siding with Coach Cam or are you siding with Freddie?
Well, that should be simple. The only guy that actually knows the game of football. Yes, I'm going with Coach Cam. Listen, it's going into December. You're going to have to run the ball. No team is really more dominant when it comes to running, maybe outside of the Browns. But Derrick Henry is really, him and Dalvin Cook, you can argue he's the best running back in the game. But Derrick Henry, game after game after game, is really punishing these defenses. Like Coach Cam said, 6-7 minute drives. I mean, that's great for your offense. It's great for your defense. It's putting pressure on the other team. So I love what Tennessee is doing right now. When I look at all the other teams, right? So obviously Kansas City is number 1. Records don't mean anything. Steelers are number 2. When I look at the Saints without Drew Brees, no way they're in my top 3. When I look at their Packers, I feel like the Titans will run all over the Packers and get destroyed. So they're not in my top 3. The only other team that I could, with Seattle, we're going to have to wait and see. Right now, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Tennessee. But Seattle's in the mix. But this is a team a lot of people sleep on is Buffalo. I feel like Buffalo's a very, very good team. They're just young. But because they're so young, the Tennessee Titans, yes, are the 3rd best team in the NFL.
If we're going to talk about the game changing whenever it comes to December and everything, if it talks about running game, you can't put the Buffalo Bills up there because the Buffalo Bills running attack is atrocious. I mean, it is awful. But whenever I'm looking at it, I think they just missed the cusp. I think they're probably team number 4. I think their running game, obviously, it speaks for itself. We all know who Derrick Henry is. We know exactly who he's going to be. What concerns me is that offense or that defense. The defense more than anything, and the defense is what's going to push them down. Because I have a couple of stats here for them, or where they rank whenever it comes to defensive stats. They're 16th against the run. They're 27th against the pass. They are 19th in points allowed. And they're 24th in total defense. That's not good. And they're not forcing turnovers either. They're not exactly the turnover kind of defense. I mean, they are number 1 in the NFL whenever it comes to turnovers on the offensive side of the ball, and they're number 2 in turnover differential. But that just speaks to their offensive security. It speaks nothing to their defense. Just because of their defensive play, I have to push them just outside. I would take Kansas City. I would take Pittsburgh, and I would take Green Bay over these guys. But ultimately, I think Tennessee probably falls at that number 4 spot. And if Drew Brees was there and healthy, probably number 5. But since he's not, it's Taysom Hill. I'm going to put him at 4 instead. What's up, Fred?
Exactly. Well, you got to realize when you're in the playoffs, You have to be able to stop them, and you have to have a good defense. Because if not, your offense is going to have to be high powering like a Chiefs, who their offense can keep you in the game. I agree. I understand what Coach Cam's saying. When you have a Henry where you can run them 6-7 minute drives, but what if that opposing team's defense, like if you're going against a Pittsburgh Steelers team who's having a really excellent defense of stopping Henry, then what can you rely on? Then your defense have to step up. So, like I said, they're not a top 3 team. I believe Green Bay played them. Green Bay will beat them. I believe it's there on this upcoming season. You talk about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers. Yes, that defense could not stop the run, and yes, that's the Green Bay's biggest problem. The run. But I definitely believe Aaron Rodgers will keep them in the game. Matt LaFleur will fix that defense. Hopefully they can make some kind of adjustments, some kind of change to play, something that can stop the run. I definitely do not believe that with the Green Bay's firepower, yes, you have Henry with Tennessee, but you have Devontae Adams. You have Aaron Jones who's going to run on them as well on that defense.
My number one issue
is Green Bay can score more on the Tennessee Titans than the Titans score on Green Bay.
My number one issue with this Tennessee Titans team and why I refuse to put them in number 3 is because if a defense manages to stop Henry, the team has to fall back on Tannehill. And Tannehill's been doing his thing. I can't disrespect him. I can't disrespect him at all. But whenever you look at their offense, they are 21st in passing offense. And whenever it comes down to it, they are only averaging 4 more yards in passing offense per game than the Chicago Bears. And we all know the quarterback issues that they have out there.
I get the play styles though.
But I mean, when you got Derrick Henry, I mean, my God, you gotta feed him. I think Tannehill can make enough throws in a playoff game to win. To win, like I said, we gotta forget, man. This team was up 14-0 on the Chiefs. Like they were about ready to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. They were feeling real good about themselves. Like I just feel like and they had them up against the ropes. When you can run the ball effectively in the playoffs and score points, you put pressure on the other team to feel like they have to score every time they have the ball. And when you feel like you got to score every time you have the ball, that's when turnovers happen because you're forcing things and you're putting pressure on yourself. I've seen that. That's what happened to the Ravens last year when they went up against the Titans. That's what happens when these teams go up against the 49ers last year. They didn't do anything special. I mean, they just ran the football, and then all of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers found himself down 14-0 in a heartbeat, and then it was tee-off time. And then it got ugly. And that's how it can get in the playoffs if you can run the football.
Coach Cam, you say that, but that 49ers team had an elite defense as well.
But they ran for almost 300 yards, Freddie.
Yeah, they did. But Aaron Rodgers couldn't do that because of that defense, too.
300 yards. What that tells you? Soft trenches.
I understand that. But if Aaron Rodgers was able to do what he was able to do with the offensive man, it would have been a different game.
They would have still ran the ball.
My point to you, Freddie, is they got up real quick with two drives where they was running the ball. They got up quickly, 14-0. Then it forced what? Then they forced what? Aaron Rodgers had to throw every time, right? And then it turned into tee-off time because those guys off the edges know they're passing and they're teeing off.
But give credit to that defense too, Cam. That's all I'm saying. Give credit to the defense.
The defense is set up by the run game and starting off ahead, Freddie.
If
Aaron Rodgers could start off running the ball in the first half and handing it off to Aaron Jones, then you can have some balance and then you can maybe get some plays off. But when you're down 14-0 in a heartbeat, you have to pass and their team
it's easier on the defense.
But what I'm saying is, you guys are not listening. What I'm saying is, you just take this Titans team, for example. Let's say Derrick Henry does what he does. But guess what? Aaron Rodgers still have opportunity to do what he does. And guess what? That defense can't stop him. But you talking about a 49ers team that had a defense that can control him, where they can make things harder. The Titans only have one valuable piece, and that's Derrick Henry, who could run it down your throat. But what can he do on the other side of the ball?
So A.J. Brown the chump.
That's what I'm saying.
A.J. Brown is not a chump by any means.
Corey Davis the chump. Jonnu Smith.
What are they doing this year, Chris?
The same thing they were doing last year. A.J. Brown is dominating right now.
The defense.
their defense is looking better in the second half of the season than it is in the first. I mean, like when we had the Titans reporter on here, like the head coach said, the Titans reporter said the offense is looking better than defense. Last year, the dude said the offense started off slow, and at the end of the year, the offense got better. This year, he came on and said the offense is starting off great. The defense is going to start off slow, but towards the end of the season, they will pick it up, and that's what they've been showing me right now. So that's all I have to say on that.
They're going to need to. They're definitely going to need to, because whenever we have said it, all of us have said it, whenever you get to that point where they start running, they fall behind, they're going to have to pass. And like I mentioned, right now they're 27th in passing defense. So they got to figure something out, especially they got to get hot on that passing defensive side of the ball. We'll see exactly where Tennessee is. And again, at least from my point, no disrespect, like I said, they're at number 4 for me. They're right on the cusp. I have them right there. But I think it's definitely an argument no matter where you look at it. It's a good debate to question, and that's why it's on here. Thank you, Chris Brown, for bringing it up there. But let's go from a top 3 team potentially to a potential miss on the playoffs potentially. Let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals a little bit. The network's Jay, big fan of the Arizona Cardinals. Team dropped a heartbreaker this week. I mean, that's one way to put it. Let's just say that they fell to 6-5. They're currently 3rd in the NFC West, and they are currently sitting on to that last wild card spot, number 7. There are 3 teams right behind them at 5 and 6, only 1 game behind. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about. Do you guys think that are the Arizona Cardinals still a playoff team? Are they going to find a way to sneak their way into the wild card? Freddie, I'll start with you.
You know, when they should have beat Seattle that game. You know, that's the game that they had to win. But then you turn around and lose to a New England Patriots team that you needed to win, because I mean your schedule does. I mean the rest of your schedule is mostly divisional games. The next game you're going against is the Rams, and we know what the Rams is going to do with Aaron Donald. Is going to push that offensive line around, going to make Murray run around and make throws, which he can. But I think the Rams will win that game. So I don't believe the Cardinals are a playoff team this year. I think they blew it by losing to the Patriots team. They'll beat the Giants. I don't have no doubts about that. But yeah, I don't see them beating the Rams twice. And then I believe the 49ers will actually surprise some people. It might sneak up and win that game. So yeah, the Cardinals are not a playoff team this year.
Coach Cam, I'll go to you. What are you thinking about the Cardinals' playoffs hopes?
Yeah, man, I think we was ready to crown the Cardinals a little bit too early, man. You know what I mean? Because we was discussing the NFC West, a little while ago on ASAP, and I kind of saw this coming. The Cardinals could have been easily lost 4 in a row. If you take away that throw to DeAndre Hopkins, if you take away that throw, which was kind of like a Hail Mary, honestly, luck of the draw, they on a 4-game losing streak right now. And you're talking about 5 and 6. I don't think they make the playoffs. I think the 49ers are slowly getting healthy, and that's a team that has a great coach. And even though they have a backup quarterback in there, he's going to game plan and put it together to where he's going to put his team in the best position to win. There's other teams right there at that 5 and 6 mark that can make the playoffs as well. I know Will is looking ugly right now, but your Bears are 5 and 6. But we will see. But I don't see them making the playoffs. They got to start winning some football games. I'm looking at the schedule. You got Rams, Giants, Eagles, 49ers, Rams. That's not easy. It's winnable games on there, but it's not easy. And I'm just kind of disappointed in the Cardinals. We was just talking about Kyler Murray as an MVP candidate just a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden it seemed like they just fell from grace. So they're not a playoff team in my eyes. They got a lot of things they need to work on.
Chris, I'll move to you. 3 for 3, or are you putting the Arizona Cardinals in the playoff?
I just say this. I say this. Coach Cam really said something. I really feel like everybody should have heard it, and I'll repeat it. They're one Hail Mary away from a 4-game losing streak. A 4-game losing streak. I mean, we were on here giving them a lot of credit. So was I, but I've been giving them credit as soon as the draft time was up, as soon as they made the trade. I've been giving this team the credit. I thought they were going to be a team that they're proving into this year. They can beat anybody, but they can also lose to anybody. So that is a dangerous team because they can end up 10-6, which this Cardinals team could have easily ended up, or they can end up not making the playoffs, which is happening right now. I mean, you lose to the Dolphins, that's inexcusable. You're not supposed to lose to them. Okay, you're going against Seattle, one of the best teams in the NFL. That's a toss-up. You're really not mad at that. But this game against the Patriots is a game you're not supposed to lose. You're not supposed to lose. And I started Kyler Murray again. He let me down this week. I wasn't even paying attention to fantasy. I look up Kyler Murray starting. I'm just upset. But listen, man, they underperformed against the Patriots. And when you look at the rest of the schedule, you know, both my guys said it down there the best. 3 out of the next 5 games are divisional games. You play the Rams twice, week 13 and week 17. You play the San Francisco 49ers week 17. You go against 2 NFC East opponents. Yes, they're both struggling, but their defenses aren't chump change. You're going against the 2 very, very good defenses. So it's not going to be easy. And when you have to play the Rams twice and the San Francisco 49ers, and, you know, I forgot which one of y'all said it. You have a couple of teams that are 5-6. They can honestly miss the playoffs. You have the Vikings. Brandon, we've been clowning your team all year.
Yeah, they coming around.
I said they were going to be disappointment. They were 1-5. Now they're 5-6. I mean, you have the Bears. You have the San Francisco 49ers in the same division. Those are probably the teams most likely that can sneak up to the last wild card spot. I don't see Washington or Atlanta being able to do it, but who knows? The point being is that it's on the Cardinals. I don't know. I hope they make the playoffs, but right now it's not looking too good for them.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to be the black sheep. I'm saying the Arizona Cardinals are still a playoff team, and here's why. Whenever I'm looking at those 3 teams that are sitting at 5-6, and I'm looking at the Arizona Cardinals, who already has a 1-game advantage on them, you know, statistically, they are 6-5. They do have that 1 game up. That means that a team is going to have to win 2 more games than the Arizona Cardinals to secure a playoff spot. And whenever I'm looking at the remainder bit of the schedule, as we've mentioned with the Arizona Cardinals schedule, we've already said it before, the Rams twice, the Giants, the Eagles, and the 49ers. The Rams are a great defensive team. We all know that. But who's going to show up at quarterback? Is it going to be Jared Goff, Jeff Fisher, or is it going to be Sean McVay, Jared Goff? And that's a little bit of a question mark. We haven't seen them play the Cardinals yet, so we don't exactly know what exactly is going to happen. We know Jared Goff is very flip-floppy. We don't know exactly who we're going to see. So I could see the Arizona Cardinals pulling out at least one of those games easily. Whenever it comes down to the Giants and the Eagles, those are 2 games that they have to win. I mean, they have to win them. Best case scenario, if they are a playoff team, they will win those games. But we need to see that happen. And then the 49ers team, it's a team they've already beat earlier this year. Yes, they're getting healthier, and they played them whenever they were a little bit more banged up. But if they are a playoff team, we'll see it happen. Let's go on to my Bears. It's not happening. Let's go on to the Vikings. The Vikings take on Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, Chicago, New Orleans, and Detroit. Jacksonville is an easy dub. At least it should be. Chicago should be a dub again. And Detroit should be a dub. If Drew Brees is back, maybe not. If Taysom Hill's in there, maybe the New Orleans Saints. That's probably the one I'm worried about. If they can find a way to beat the Saints, no matter who their quarterback is, they're a dangerous team to look out for. And the 49ers have the Bills, football team, Cowboys, Cardinals, and the Seattle Seahawks. I think at best they're getting away with 2 games out of that. Whenever it comes down to the football team in Dallas, I could see them winning those 2 games. But the Bills, I don't know if the 49ers are better than. The Cardinals, I don't know if they're better than. And the Seattle Seahawks, I don't think they're better than. Whenever it comes down to it, it's whatever's remaining. And obviously, you know, a team, as I mentioned, has to win at least 2 more games than the Cardinals. And in this 5-game sweep that's left in the season, I don't even think out of those 4 teams, I think the Cardinals are still going to walk away with the most wins out of all of them. So because of what the other teams are up against and because of the way things are trending with those other teams, I still see the Arizona Cardinals sneaking in at a 7 seed. They're not going to do anything special. But whenever you're asking me, are they a playoff team or not, I'm going to go with yes. I think they just sneak in there.
And I feel what you're saying after that, but I'm on the same boat as you. Is like I have to see they have their favorable schedule. You look at everybody else; their schedules is tough. But I mean, when they really should be on a 4-game losing streak, and they lose the teams that they shouldn't be losing to. So that's why I said in the beginning of the year, this is going to be a team. Murray isn't healthy. You know, I'm gonna be honest. There's no football player healthy right now. It's just that time of year. Everybody's playing through something. But you're right. It's noticeable that Murray isn't healthy, which slows down his offense. But Like I said, they're a team that can lose to anybody and beat anybody. Do I want them to make it in the playoffs? Of course I do. Will they make it in the playoffs? It's really all on them. They control their own future, and that's really how I feel about the Cardinals. I love them though, but they control their own future right now.
This is a Cardinals team that really could be realistically sitting anywhere between 8-3 and 4-7. So, I mean, it really is a flip-floppy team overall, similar to how I mentioned it with Jared Goff. I mean, you never really know what Cardinals team's going to show up. Yeah. If the Cardinals playoff team's going to show up, if they can figure out a way to figure something out, they should easily coast in compared to what all these other teams have to do with. Because let me just hit on it real quick. My Bears, even though I threw them off as a joke, they played the Lions, the Texans, the Vikings, the Jaguars, and Green Bay. Now, if the Bears can get something going, that's the
big if.
4-1. Got to go 4-1.
They have to go 4-1. But you know how hard it is to go 4-1 after dropping 5 in a row. I mean, we saw Minnesota do it, but we'll see what happens.
And the thing is,
I don't know if I believe in that.
I think Nagy called out the players today.
Yeah, I think they fired up.
You might see a little bit of a dog mentality out of them next week.
It's either gonna go real good or you're gonna lose the rest. Like it's gonna it's at that point. I think it's that point in Matt Nagy's tenure. You've seen pushing desperate moves, like you're giving Bill Lazor the play call sheet, and that's I use the OC for the Bengals, and I know what Bill Lazor can do, and it's just I worry for the Bears, with that play call script that he pulls out, because I got firsthand experience with it.
You were gonna make a point, Freddie?
You're on mute, bro.
You should turn your mic on.
Doing?
Stay on.
My bad. Honestly, reading off the schedule, the Bears can actually win all those games. You have the Lions. You can win. They're gonna sit Aaron Rodgers the last game.
No,
I don't see Aaron Rodgers them starting all their starters the last game. So if they sit all them, I can see you beating the Lions. I can see you beating the Texans. I can see you beating the Vikings. You can beat the Jaguars, and you can possibly beat Green Bay if they sit their starters.
Why would they sit their starters?
They're going for a number 1 seed.
They're going for the number 1 seed. Why would they sit their starters?
I'm saying if they haven't clinched it by then. But if they have not clinched it, then of course they will. But I'm just saying if they sit them, or if not, whatever.
They're not clinching that number 1 seed, bro.
If in a hypothetical world, if they were to clinch, then yes, I see where you're coming from, because Jordan Love's not even the backup. I want to say it's Tim Boyle, and I pray that we can find a way to beat that team. But I mean, the Lions, we beat them already, but it was literally just because DeAndre Swift dropped a wide open touchdown. So I'm not I am not counting out the Lions one bit. We've already lost to the Vikings earlier this year. Deshaun Watson has proved that he can be, we've all mentioned it right here. Deshaun Watson, top 5 quarterback in the league. It's one of those, if he can go out there and make it happen, then he can make it happen. And after watching our defense last night, I don't know what they're capable of and what they're not capable of. Jacksonville is my only guarantee. And even, it sucks, but I don't even feel, I'm at a point where I don't even know if it's a guarantee. It's one of those to where, we'll have to wait and see. But right now, the way we're trending, like Coach Cam said, that's the best way to put it. This is either going to spark that team up, or the worst things, which hopefully I hope doesn't happen. Matt Nagy's going to lose that locker room, and then we've seen many of coaches lose the locker room. We've seen it happen in Houston. We've seen it happen in Detroit. We've seen it happen all over the place. So, and we all know what comes next after that. So, Fuller out for the rest of the year. He was on the juice. We did see that. Definitely did see that. But we spent some time on some NFL topics, so let's get into the NBA. But first, let's talk about that free T-shirt. Today, we found out that Kendall Lum went away and won our November Viewer of the Month, and we are starting back over for December. We are going to get us a new Viewer of the Month. Chris Brown, tell us how they can win that free T-shirt.
Yes, I see a lot of new faces in the comments. I see a lot of my favorite faces in the comments. I just want to say thank you for everybody supporting. Make sure you like the video, share the video, like the page, share the page. At the end of the month of December, we're going to tally up everybody that's been doing it the most, that's been doing it in general. We're going to crown the Viewer of the Month. This month winner was Kendall Lum. Next month's winner, it's up for you to decide your own fate. Get a free ASAP Network T-shirt.
If I'm not mistaken, if you weren't here for the beginning of the show, I hear those prices of those T-shirts came down a little bit. How can we get it otherwise?
Yes, $14.99 plus shipping and handling. If you want a T-shirt, if you don't want to comment, but you still want to support the network, message us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. $14.99, like I said, plus shipping and handling. You're going to get your very own ASAP Network T-shirt to you ASAP.
All right. Let's get it popping in the NBA, starting as we usually do. Hot takes. I'm going to go to Mr. Freddie Henderson first. I need a hot take on the NBA.
Man, hot take. Let me think. Man, my hot take this year is this is a hot take. They will find a way to mess it up. Ladies and gentlemen, the Philadelphia 76ers did good this year. They did good this year. They drafted what they needed. They got Al Horford money off the book. They brought shooters in there. But they will not be a top 3 team this year. That's my hot take. Hey, I'm not saying this is going to be true. It's just a hot take that the Philadelphia Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid will not get along this year, and that will force them to make a trade to the Houston, trade Ben Simmons, bring a James Harden to team up there with Joel Embiid, and they're going to run it back the next year and win a championship. That's my hot take.
All right. Well, we'll take some time. We'll go to Coach Cam just to give Chris some time to get back up in here. Coach Cam, I need a hot take for the NBA.
NBA hot take, huh? I'm going to go with a hot take here. And it is going to revolve around the New Orleans Pelicans. I think Zion Williamson is not going to be the player we all think he's going to be. I just think he's getting too much hype. I always thought that. I thought that coming out of Duke, I thought he was very athletic. I thought he was probably the most athletic player we ever seen, possibly coming out of college. However, he doesn't have many moves. Takes about 2 or 3 dribbles max. If he posts you up, he's going over his right shoulder. He's very predictable on offense. He's just really strong, and you can't burrow through everybody. You know what I mean? And I just think his play style, he's gonna have to switch that up a little bit because he's not gonna stay healthy as well. I just think Zion is gonna be. I think Zion will be an all-star level player. I don't think he'll ever be the superstar and max out like we think he's going to be. So no superstardom for Zion Williamson.
All right. There we go. Come back, Chris, from Freddie Henderson, and we finally got him. All right. There we go. Our big smiling winner. Chris Brown, you've had some time to yourself. Let's hear a hot take on the NBA season.
I just don't understand how a guy praises one team on live, praises one team in the group chat, and now all of a sudden wants to change his mind.
It's a hot take, Chris.
Shut up. Listen. My hot take, my hot take is that the Toronto Raptors will not make the playoffs next year. I'm just kidding, but when you say dumb stuff, you see the faces people make, right? That's kind of
not a bad take, though.
No. That's a terrible take.
They got Fran VanVleet back.
No, exactly. And they added another center. Now, if they didn't do all that, then that was my hot take. But the fact that they added another center, Fran VanVleet. But here's my hot take. My hot take is that one or two things with the Clippers. Yes, man. Oh, yeah, he's just upset.
True.
He's just upset because
I'm glad he beat me. I'm happy for him. Yeah. What are you talking about, Madison? I'm happy for him.
He's a double L.
She got to keep throwing comments in there. She's trying to get a free t-shirt.
But listen. Here's my hot take. The Clippers, one or two things. They're either one, going to make a huge splash in a trade this season before the trade deadline, or after this year, they're going to blow it up. They're going to blow it up. If they don't go to the championship, not just the Western Conference Finals, because this organization never been to the finals. They have to beat to the Lakers. It doesn't matter if they lose in 7. It don't matter if they lose in 6. They're all buzzer beaters. If they do not go to the finals, I see major moves happening to this team. There's already been a lot of reports saying that Lou will get traded. Come to Philly, but I don't understand why you would trade a guy like Lou Will. All the reports are that this is trying to be a new team. You get rid of everybody else that was on that Doc Rivers team, the Lou Will, the Montrez. Now they're trying to get rid of Pat Bev. They want to become a new team with no identity. You got to realize you cannot be successful in the NBA if you don't have an identity. So the Clippers right now, they're moving on to a team that I don't see as a clear-cut identity, and that's a problem. You're not going to be able to win with that. So therefore, in my opinion, they're going to make a huge trade or they're going to blow it up because, newsflash, Nicholas Batum is not the answer for you off the bench. Newsflash, Patrick Peterson, Zubac, they're very good players off the bench, but they're not your guys that can replace Montrez. Newsflash, Lou Will, I love him. The only good guy you got off the bench. Luke Kennard, newsflash, we've seen him do good things on a bad team. What will we be able to do on a team that has aspirations to win a championship? I don't love this roster. I don't love what this organization is doing, and it's going to blow up in their faces.
Yeah, I know, Chris. I agree with that. Last year I thought coming into about this point, I thought Clippers was the clear-cut favorite. At that, I really did. Excuse me. If you look top to bottom at the roster, you laughing now, Freddie. I mean, that's easy to laugh after a year later. But if you're talking about top to bottom, as far as the rosters and how they shaped up, I mean, the Clippers had the best roster from top to bottom.
I'm just laughing because I meant to send the article to you guys, but I forgot. But it's the same thing Charles Barkley said last year. I'm going to show y'all a video. There's a video, a 5-minute video of people pumping up the Clippers.
I mean, but their roster from top to bottom was there. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I said, the bubble was different. The bubble was different. They didn't respond to it very well at all. You had players that didn't want to be there. You had players that left, unfortunately had deaths in the family, had to leave the bubble. Then when you leave the bubble, you stop it to get lemon pepper wings.
Lemon pepper Lou.
You know what I mean? You doing all that.
We love you. Come back to Philly.
Honestly, they didn't want to be there, man. They were one of the teams that was like, hey, we're willing to go home and just say forget it. So I mean, but the Clippers are in trouble, man. I do agree with that. They are in trouble. I don't know what they're doing with the roster. I don't know, man. I think Kawhi's gonna want out of there.
Said it best. No leadership.
Your best player can't be just a robot like that. It can't be just silent. Like,
and then your leaders, they don't feel like the team isn't built to win. And I'm going to get into that later. But I do believe they're either going to make a massive trade or they're going to blow it up because you trade away your draft picks, so you have no future. So you want to blow it up before everybody's free agents, man.
I'm not going to talk too much more because I have things to say.
Nobody wants to hear you talk more.
Chris, I bet you want to call me and just talk to me, my friend.
Never.
Huh? I tell you what, I'm going to get into my hot take, I think, a little bit later on into the episode. So we're just going to move on to the next topic. Okay. Let's go on to the Charlotte Hornets. I've actually mentioned them in a hot take before, specifically about this topic. I want to get your collective on everybody else. Do we think the Charlotte Hornets are a playoff team? I'm going to start with Coach Cam. I want to get your opinion on this Charlotte Hornets team and where they fall in the Eastern Conference.
Hey, I love what the Charlotte Hornets did in the offseason. I thought they made themselves a much better ball team. Getting the money off the books as far as Batum contract was huge. People understand the ramifications of that moving forward. But no, they're not a playoff team yet. For that 8th spot, I think there's some teams ahead of them. Right now, just the way they're where I'm looking at, until the Magic lose that 8th seed, you always got to consider them. They find a way at the 8th seed somehow, some way. You got to look at the Wizards. You got to look at the Hawks. You got to look at these teams that really got better. But I just don't see Charlotte as a playoff team yet. But they'll be much better. They'll be one of those teams to where you can't come to Charlotte, maybe sleep it on a Wednesday night, or you might take a loss. I think they'll be one of those teams, but I just think they'll fall short of the playoffs.
Chris, I'll turn to you. What do you think about the playoff hopes for the Hornets?
I don't mean to change topics, but DK Metcalf is a beast. That's all I want to say. But, yeah, when I look at the Charlotte Hornets, I love the moves that they made. I mean, getting rid of Nicholas Batum, everything else doesn't even matter. Getting rid of him was the best thing this organization could have did. Then you go and you draft the LaMelo. You draft I can't think of his name, to send out of Duke. You go in free agency, go get a Gordon Hayward. You have a very, very good roster. But is that enough to make the playoffs in the East? Sadly, no. I mean, you look at all the teams that made the playoffs last year, none of them really, really degressed enough to say they won't make the playoffs this year. Honestly, none of them really taking that step back. The Pacers have yet to trade away everybody else. And if this Pacers team stay the way they are right now, they're a playoff team. Not saying they're top 5, top 4 like they were this year, but they're a playoff team. Then you look at teams like the Wizards. Add in John Wall, they're automatically a better team. Re-signing Bertans is automatically a better team. Then you look at teams like the Atlanta Hawks. With the moves that they made, we already have them making a playoff team. And we already know that the Hawks, well, I think we all can agree that the Hawks right now, at least roster-wise, we feel like has a better roster than the Charlotte Hornets. And then you look at teams like the Bulls. Not saying the Bulls are a great team, but they're in the same boat as Charlotte right now. You got teams that are really right there. Those teams I don't think going to make the playoffs, but there's a lot of teams in East that I feel like are better than the Hornets, even with the moves that they made. I would love to see LaMelo in the playoffs. I would love to see this team in the playoffs. I just don't think it's going to be this year.
Freddie, I'll bring it to you. Are you wrapping up 3 for 3?
Yeah, we all agree. I mean, they're not better than the Wizards with John Wall coming back. What the Hawks did, yeah, they're not better than the Hawks. I mean, we all agree on this. I mean, but my prediction is next year, and I believe LeVar Ball is right. Lonzo's a free agent. I would not be surprised if he goes sign with the Charlotte Hornets next year. Just saying.
Go ahead, Chris. You got something to add? Was that okay?
Save for Thursday. I'm saving it for Thursday.
I'm gonna stick to being the black sheep because I said this a while back and I don't want to flip flop. I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna stick to the fact that Charlotte Hornets are gonna sit at the 8th seed. I don't know if I trust the Orlando Magic enough, and I'm still banking on the Indianapolis or the Indiana Pacers to send out their players. I really am. I mean, frankly, that's what it comes down to. I'm still banking on the fact that they're gonna move VO. They could move Miles Turner because if it gets down to that, to just be ran by Domantas Sabonis. I don't know if I trust this team to be a playoff team anymore, especially after they lose those two key pieces. I think they did just enough to maybe slide into that 8th seed. And then it comes down to, did Orlando make enough progress to kind of counterbalance the Charlotte increase in wins and the Hawks increase in wins? And then, you kind of get into that question with the 8th seed. So I think they're going to slide into 8. I still think they're going to sit there at the 8th seed. I don't think they're going to be there by much, but I think they're going to slide in just enough to make the playoffs. But that's where I'm going to leave it
for that, because it's really I think the 8th seed is the one that's going to be up for grabs. I think 1 through 7, like how it was in the West this year, we're going to know. But I do think I was curious with the 8th seed because a lot of teams made changes, but until we see them play, who's to know which team is the best? So I'm glad, Will, you're not like other people on this show, not going to say any names. They don't flip flop on their stances.
Hey, man, when it comes down to the season, anything can happen. Injuries can happen. Things could. I don't know where everybody went, but how you doing, Chris?
Freddie left because I called him out. As I will continue to do. Coach Cam, he called me. He said, "Listen, I'm tired of seeing Freddie face." That's what happened.
There he is. See, Freddie left. He came back.
But I don't know what's going on. It's just lie me out.
Stick to my story, Cam. Stick to my story.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, it's bad that he got to make stories up. Chris, man, maybe people need to see this. Maybe HBO, me and you. You know what? The next time we do a debate, we charging pay-per-view. That's what we gonna do. Pay-per-view.
Listen, I don't need to charge anybody. They already know what's going to happen.
Hey, bro,
you're a double L, a loser, $10
a pop.
Nobody want to pay to see you, my friend.
Oh,
let me talk like LeVar. I'm the money, baby. That's what Lamar would say. LeVar, my guy. That's what LeVar would say. I just felt like being like LeVar. I feel like being like the big baller right there.
Big baller, Brand.
Wait. Brandon. I promise you, Thursday on Real Talk, I'm going to give myself the big screen. What I'm going to say, I will mean it. And it's going to be about the Ball brothers.
All right. That's a little foreshadowing to Thursday. We'll get to more about future programming. There we go.
You're going to be able to get on the Fire Stick. Of course.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely can get it on the Fire Stick.
Because we all know not everybody's going to pay anyway. We already know. So we might as well accept that fact. But it's one of those to where I was saying with you, Chris, like injuries can happen. A lot can happen throughout the season. And the one thing that the Charlotte Hornets are is very young, very durable. It's one of those whenever you're younger in age, your body can take a lot more. And so a shortened off season, a situation in which they are going to be a lot younger than a lot of the teams they're going to be facing. I think it comes down to durability and they have a chance to kind of hold on. And I think they'll just sneak into the 8th seed, but not by much. Like I said, maybe a couple games or two, but nothing dominant.
It's definitely going to be close though. You're right. It's definitely going to be close.
I want
What's
to
up,
answer to the last comment. Yeah, Brandon. I will give this to Chris. He works out. Okay. Hey, I'm like Roy Jones Jr. He was waiting for a cheeseburger. He was waiting for Thanksgiving food. I'm too big. Hey, I'm not going.
Ooh,
He'll
yes.
probably get me in the boxing. I'm
I'm
not
sorry.
Gonna,
I'm sorry, but that comment was my favorite. We need to get Chris and Freddie as the co-main, and then me and Jared Goff as the main event. I mean, that has to be 1 and 2 right there. That'll
Coach
sell
Cam,
tickets. I
Coach
promise.
Cam got to be my trainer, man. Don't set me up like they set Nate Robinson up, man. Don't
Yeah, I got you.
Well, let's not talk about big L's that people took. Let's talk about a W that a player could catch this year. Let's talk about the most improved player for the upcoming season. Who do we all think is going to be take the next big step in their game? I'm going to start with you, Chris. What player do you think is going to take a big leap in their game going into 2021?
Man, we talked about the Ball brothers. I think Lonzo Ball is going to be the most improved player next year. I think his game is really going to take a significant leap. Here's why. Everybody really want to compare him to Steph Curry. Well, not everybody. His father wanted to compare him to Steph Curry because Steph Curry was hot. Who does he really remind me of? Jason Kidd. I mean, a tall guard that can really play defense, that get everybody involved, that keeps everybody happy, that can rebound, that can be a leader. Now, no, he hasn't had the impact on the Pelicans like Jason Kidd has had on the Nets. We understand that, but when I talk about playing styles, that's who he remind me of. This year, his jump shot, his three-point percentage in particular, took a huge leap. He went from his first year averaging 30% from the three-point, second year 32, this year 37.5. I mean, that's a huge increase. I know, he's not shooting like Steph. He's not shooting like Dame. But that 37 to 38 range is really league average. And if he keeps improving, I do think he'll be able to hit that 39, 40% mark. When I look at his offensive game, what he really has to work on is his finishing around the basket. If he works on his finishing around the basket, I mean, last year he averaged, like 11, 7, and 8, somewhere around that. You look at him, if he works on his finishing, he's averaging at least 16, 17, 7, and 8. I mean, he's that type of player. I do think he'll really win most improved player. I think Lonzo Ball is a great talent. No, he's probably not going to end up being the greatest point guard of all time, but he can be one of the best point guards in this generation because what he brings to the game and the fact that he's improving his game every single year. He could have stayed in his year one and been a complete bust, but every year he's showing you that he's working on his game. His game is getting better and better and better. Last year, he worked on the thing, jump shot. Everybody screamed, three-point shooter, three-point shooter, three-point shooter. He worked on that. Not saying he's the best, but he got better. This year, it's three-point shooting, but working on your finishing around the basket. He's got stronger, which is going to help him out. He's very, very athletic. I see Lonzo Ball really coming in next year and putting his stamp on the league.
All right, Freddie, I saw you shaking your head in a positive way. Had a nice smile on your face. Let's see what you have to say.
Because Chris knew I was going with this, man. I was going Lonzo Ball as well. But to give me another name out there, because I believe in the Ball brothers, man. I was really excited my Lakers drafted Lonzo, matter of fact. He spoke about Kuzma. Kuzma called out all his haters the other day, man. People keep criticizing, which rightfully so. He's going to have to. Last year was the first time he came to a season where
he played on a good team.
Exactly. He was not the main guy. That Kuzma's used to coming in there getting 10 to 15 shots a night. Well, this year, when you get to 5 to 6 shots, you have to learn where to take those shots, when to take those shots, and stuff like that. And I do believe Frank Vogel kind of used him wrong, trying to pump him up to be this all-time defensive player, and he's not that. He's a scorer. Kyle Kuzma not going to ever be that all-time defensive player. I'm sorry. Kyle Kuzma is a scorer. He can score the ball. That's what he does. But I do think this year he's going to put the little time off that they have in this offseason. I do think he's putting in the work. I do think he's going to come back motivated. And we do have to remember last year, before the season started, he did deal with injury, so he did miss time. And so, I mean, it's little. And when he came back into the bubble, he did look like he started making progressive, like going on the up. But I definitely think he'll pick it back up this year, and he'll start it back. He'll start improving he'll start improving in his role. Because arguably he might not even be the third guy this year. You got Schroeder, that might be that for sure third guy now.
All right, we'll move to you, Coach Cam. Who do you see being the most improved player going into 2021?
I seen his improvement last year. He's on a bad team, but I think a person that could be like a 25, 26 point scorer is Colin Sexton. I really think I really think he's a bucket getter. He's starting to feel his way in the NBA and starting to realize, how he can get his buckets and things like that. And like I said, you started to see it before, everything shut down. He was really starting to pick it up. I like I like when he got that dog in him. You know what I mean? This is a dude that dropped 40 when it was 5-on-3.
Talk
So
about it, because I think that doesn't get talked about enough.
I know. I mean, it was the anniversary of that a couple days ago, like like the 3-year anniversary of it or whatnot. But man, I think he can score. On all 3 levels. He's getting better at the perimeter shot. I think this is a guy where, especially under JB Bickerstaff, kind of gave him the keys a little bit. And you're going to see, I think you're going to see Colin Sexton get you about 25, 26 points tonight. I'm not saying they're going to win because Cleveland is terrible. However, I think he's going to put up big numbers, though, and you'll find his name in that most improved race.
I just want to say before I get into my answer, we are 3 questions into an NBA, and my answer hasn't been taken yet. So I'm feeling really good so far. I'm going to go with Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets. Man on the bench last year, only started 8 games, but saw his way into a lot of games, played about 16 minutes, averaging 9, 5, and 1. But this guy in the defensive side took a big step throughout the season. You could see a lot of defensive improvements throughout his game, especially whenever it got into the bubble. I thought he played a lot better in defense whenever it came down to the playoffs. And this guy was a couple free throw shots away from 50, 40, 90. I mean, if you let this guy loose, the guy shot 51 from the floor, 43 from 3, and then 84% from the free throw line. Those are not numbers to be upset about by any means. Those are great numbers. And I think if you can find a way to work him a little bit more into games, maybe start seeing him at 20 minutes, maybe see him at like 22, maybe even get him into the starting rotation. If you start seeing Michael Porter Jr. getting more action into the Denver Nuggets, I think this guy's going to take a huge leap, and we're going to see a lot more points coming out of Michael Porter.
Yeah, he needs 30 minutes plus.
See Will, he I didn't think about him because I'm forgetting that people don't see him as a star, but I seen him as a star years ago.
Yeah, I seen him as a junior year in high school.
Come on now, he's a beast.
For sure.
I'm not going to talk about what I just saw with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sorry.
Not afraid of the moment either.
Yeah, but I'm already seeing him as a beast. And when I looked at him last year, first of all, he should have got drafted in the top 5 just because he has the injury. I mean, we see Blake Griffin.
Definitely would have picked him.
We seen Blake Griffin have an injury. Look what he's doing right now. Same thing with Joel and Ben Simmons. But that's neither here nor there. This dude is a beast, like you said. His defensive game, he showed improvements. He got picked on a little bit in the bubble, but he shows you he's not going to quit. And on offensive end, he's really the closest thing we ever seen to Kevin Durant. So he totally didn't slip my mind because I'm already he's there already. He's there already. But that I should have stole that because he was in my mind. But he's a beast. He's a beast. I'm glad that you said it because I'm gonna talk about him more toward when the season gets closer. But Michael Porter Jr., I think he's gonna average 20 points next year. Honestly, and that's with the loss of Jeremy Grant, he's averaging 20 plus.
And that's what I'm looking at. Whenever I look at Michael Porter Jr., whenever he steps in, going from a 9-5 guy to a 20-10 guy, I mean, that's a hell of a leap. I mean, I tell you what, whenever I look at it, I don't know who's going to take such a statistical leap whenever it comes down to that. And so whenever I'm looking at it, when it comes to most improved, I'm looking at numbers wise. And I think Michael Porter Jr. definitely has the best chance to take it because I'm right there with y'all. I think Michael Porter Jr. is right up there. I mean, the guy's a dog. The guy does what he does. And I mean, he definitely takes care of business when he's out there on the court. But I think he's going to see, obviously, like you said, without Jeremy Grant, he's going to see a lot more time on the court. And I think it's going to do wonders to his game. I think we're actually going to all see who Michael Porter Jr. is. So going on to we talked about the person who's going to take the biggest leap. Let's talk about the best well-rounded team. Let's talk about what team right now has the roster that is set up for the best success. What team on names when it comes to paper has the best roster? I'm going to start with Chris. Where do you see the best roster in the NBA?
I'm sorry, my heart's just getting broken right now. But best roster in the NBA, honestly, it's very, very close. There's a lot of teams that's going to pick a team. That's what we want to see. Trust me, he doesn't know, but December 21st, he's picking a team to support.
That is not a take.
He's picking a team to support. But on a serious note, I really think it's close to which team has the best roster. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Brooklyn. I am. I think it's very close. There's like 5 teams, in my opinion, that you can say. But right now, I'm leaning more towards Brooklyn. I love Kyrie. I love KD. You have 2 very, very good. Like their depth is crazy. You have Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan. You got KD backing them up. You still have Taurean Prince, who's a very good basketball player. You have Jeff Green, that's going to give you veteran experience and a guy that you can count on to get buckets in the second unit. You got Joe Harris, Landry Shamet, that are 2 very, very good shooters. You got Timothy Luwalu, who's showed in the bubble that he can step up being a quality role player. You got Karis LeVert, who's that guy that, they say he wants to be in that role where he could do this, he could do that. Karis LeVert is a bucket getter. We've seen it. You got Bruce Brown, who people don't know. Bruce Brown is really a very, very good defender. So everybody wants to talk about defense. You're going to see why they traded for Bruce Brown. He's there for defense. Then you got Kyrie and Spencer Dinwiddie. And then you have Tyler Johnson still. So you got so many players that can do so much. I love this roster. And I mean, from top to bottom, not 1 to 5, but I'm talking about 1 to 13. I don't know if any team is better than this.
All right. We'll go over to Coach Cam. What team do you think has the best roster for success right now?
Oh man, best roster for success. To be honest, and I really kind of hate to say it, but the Los Angeles Lakers. They do have the best. I know. I'm not. I know. I know. Chris don't like it. I hate to say it, but you got to consider there's gonna be. You have to do things differently with COVID. And training camps are gonna be rushed. They're gonna be accelerated. And there's nothing like having continuity. And to be honest, LeBron can put it together quickly for the new guys. Dennis Schroeder is a guy that can get you 20. That was a big addition. He's not the floor general that Rondo is. Rondo's gives you another level of IQ that you can't match. That no point guard in the NBA can match. But he gives you that athleticism, gives you that speed. Like I said, Wes Matthews and Danny Green to me was a wash. However, they did get Montrezl Harrell, who I think is, would be a huge piece for them coming off the bench as well. And like I said, they're going to be deep, and like I said, I hate to even pick the Los Angeles Lakers, but when I'm looking at far as a team equipped to win now, you're talking about, veterans mixed with a few, young pieces there. I think they're built to win. I think they're built to win right away, especially when you're going through things like COVID early stages and accelerated training camps. I think they're built to win right now.
All right, Freddie, we'll go over to you. What team's set up for the most success?
Man, this show just flipped the script on me, man. Hey, I was not going to pick the Lakers at all. I mean, this show just flipped the script, Coach Cam. You know what? I'm proud of you. It's shame that I'm not picking the Lakers today. And it's shame that Chris is picking the Nets today. Oh, how shameful. Man, I hate to say this because I tell you, this show did flip. Because Coach Cam should have said the Nets, and then Chris should have said who I was going to pick, and I should have picked the Lakers. I'm going with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Hold on. How are you going to diss a team in the beginning, but now – go ahead.
Because the question was who's going to win. It's just who have the best team on paper.
Okay, go ahead.
Best team on paper. That's the question, right? We just say win, right?
That's fair.
That's the question.
Then.
That's definitely fair.
You have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. You have the top two best young players in the game. You're talking about they can run the pick and roll. You talking about you can put Ben Simmons in the post. You can do a lot with that. Then you have Tobias Harris, who you put him on the 3-point line. He can shoot the three. He can shoot it. He can give you 15 to 20 a night. Then you bring a dude in by Danny Green. Yes, he struggled last year, but maybe with the spacing of Joel Embiid and maybe with Ben Simmons running the floor, you can get him to shoot the three better. Then he's also a good 3-and-D guy. Let's not forget that. But you added Seth Curry in there, who's the second best 3-point shooter in the game, which these two brought to my attention. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. These two brought to my attention. So you brought more spacing for Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons on the floor with a Danny Green. You need spacing. Then the kid, the young man they drafted in the draft, I forgot his name.
Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, he's going to be a big addition. You still have Alex Burke over there. So, yes, I mean, then you have Doc Rivers running the show. Then you have the Daryl Morey over there. If he see they need to make improvements, he will. And then you have Dwight Howard backing up Joel Embiid. So I mean, hey, you got to give credit to credit. They're on paper they have the best roster on paper. And I'm just very surprised this show did a flip like this.
Now I have a question because I'm honest about my about my teams. What can't go wrong. Is Philly on the list of what can't go wrong?
We lost to a bounce. We lost. To be honest, we lost to a bounce. We lost to a bounce the year we had a great team, a bounce shot. Then last year, I mean, our best defender, let me not curse. One of our best players, arguably the best player, got injured.
No, but that's part of what can't go wrong scenario, Chris. It's not that your team is bad.
But that's 2 years.
Things happen.
That's 2 years.
A bad luck shot.
2 years though.
An injury here and there.
That's
when
these.
You look at it.
Nah, only 2 years.
It's longer than 2 years.
These the only 2 years that happen. These the only
2 years.
Please inform me what other years.
The process.
The process is working out fine. You just said we have the best roster. Now we have a good.
When is it working? When have it showed in the playoffs, Chris?
I mean, like we've been in the playoffs the past 3 years, right? What kind? You look like a dead fish, bro.
What have it showed that trust the process of work?
I'm about to tell you. You gonna let me talk, or you gonna keep looking like a dead fish?
The floor is yours.
The first year we went to the playoffs, we had a terrible roster. We got in there because there are two great players. Boom. The year before last, we lost a bounce shot. You could say that. You know what I'm saying? You can say what it is. What can't go wrong will go wrong. Last year, Ben Simmons got hurt. So the past 2 years in the playoffs, it didn't go our way. But you just said we have a way better roster this year. You just said it. We have a better coach this year. If we don't win this year, you can put us on the list. But this team compared to every team we had since Ben Simmons has been on this team, they don't compare. It's not even close.
Let me find my pen. I'm gonna write that down, and I want you to hear. I want you to admit it on the show.
Freddie, I'm not like you. I don't switch takes. What I say, I stand on.
Will, write that down, please. Keep that noted.
Well, we've made it to the point where we've reached an NBA take in which my point was said. I was also going to go with Chris Brown's Philadelphia 76ers.
Man, thank you.
Whenever we were talking about on paper, and that is what the question is, we are talking about what team looks great on paper. We're talking about a team that probably made the best additions whenever it came to the offseason. This is the team that won the offseason whenever it comes down to it. Tyrese Maxey was an amazing draft pick. I think it's going to work out really good out there in Philadelphia. Then you get the 3-and-D guy in Danny Green, which is something that Chris Brown has talked on here on this network, live on this show, multiple times, in which the Philadelphia 76ers need. Then they get a shooter in Seth Curry, which is another thing that Chris Brown has multiple times on this network said that they are in desperate need of. Then you go get a dog to back up Joel Embiid like Dwight Howard. I mean, whenever you're looking at it, this team is really starting to come together, and it's the depth. It really is the depth whenever it's coming down to it. Whenever you look at a team in a 10-man rotation, I don't know if there's another team that really compares whenever you're looking at it on paper. And because of that, I have to go with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Man, I didn't want to talk about my team all day. I could have, but I mean, I just want to say thank y'all for doing me, because y'all know how I feel about my Sixers. I don't want to beat up on a dead horse. I'll save it for when the NBA season starts. We do have a very good roster, and like I said though, I said when I gave my answer, it's 5-6 teams that people could have said right now. I mean, I'm just going to throw teams out there. The Portland Trailblazers, they added everything that they needed to their roster. If one of y'all would, I was thinking about saying it. They have a very good roster this year. It's a lot of teams that we could have said. That's
for sure. Absolutely. There's definitely a lot of great teams out there in the NBA. We'll see exactly who prevails whenever it comes to the court. But let's go to the flip side. Let's talk about what team has really high expectations and is going to fall their way onto Coach Cam's list. Who's going to be the biggest disappointment this year? Let's talk about it. Let's start with Freddie. Freddie, I want to go to you. Who do you think is going to be the biggest flop in the NBA this season?
Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about it earlier. The clock is ticking. It's time for Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, them to handle their business. Last year, Kawhi came into Los Angeles saying that this is his city. Had the commercial with the little crown dangling from the keychain, talking about he's taking the throne. And what happened? He did not dethrone the king. It is you. This is your time. Hey, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are free agents this year at the end of the season. So Clippers, hey, Coach Cam, is that team on your list? The Clippers are they on
Can't
your
go
list?
wrong with
They should
oh,
be the first
yeah.
team on the list.
Exactly.
Yeah, they
the
got
first team on the list.
history of that.
They
Yeah.
You
never went to the
cannot
Western Conference Finals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You cannot let that be the season. And Chris, like Chris said earlier, a Western Conference final is not acceptable. This finals are bust. You have to handle your business. Because if you lose this year, if they don't trade Paul George by then, but they're both walking. They're both leaving. And you guys y'all need to handle y'all business. I'm just saying you need to handle your business.
Chris, we'll move to you. What team do you think is going to be the biggest disappointment this season?
Goodness, man, I gotta stop watching this game. This is the biggest disappointment this season. But on a serious note, I mean, Freddie really touched on it. You talk about a team, no team has really had the expectations on them like the Clippers. That in win now mode, that talked all the talk that they were talking. They got humbled last year, and I do think they're going to get humbled this year. You know, Freddie still thinks they need a center. I really think they addressed that in Serge Ibaka, but that's neither here nor there. We all know what they're still lacking is that point guard leader, that guy that can really set up this team. I mean, you have a Kawhi Leonard and a Paul George. Those are guys that they're not the playmakers. You know, they need somebody that can give offense. I'm sorry, they need somebody that can create offense for other players on that team. Kawhi Leonard's not going to be the guy like LeBron that's going to get everybody involved. Neither is Paul George. That's not their strong suit. So until they address that, I think they're going to flop like they did last year. And I mean, I said it. They're either going to make a big splash with a trade before the trade deadline, or it's over. I mean, point blank. Period. The Clippers to me have the most expectations, I think, out of anybody. And if they lose, they're really going to blow it up before any other team that you could say that have high expectations would.
Coach Cam, I'll move to you. What team are you looking at to be the biggest disappointment?
I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers because I like to do that on a Monday night. The most disappointing team that I see is the Philadelphia 76ers. And this is why. Y'all know how I feel about Doc Rivers. And we talk about disappointing, which means that I'm not saying they're not going to make the playoff. That's not what I'm saying. But when I look at the Philadelphia 76ers and when I look at this team, it needs to be they need to make the Eastern Conference Finals. They need to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, how long are we going to trust this process? You know, and that's serious. I mean, you know, the draft picks, the first round draft picks, the top picks, they done dried all up now. Like it's time for 76ers to start seeing some winning in the playoffs. So so I mean, we can sit up here and say, you know, trust the process, but we on year 6 or 7 of this thing. Like, it's time to see some results. It's time to see some results. And that's how I feel about it. And I just don't. I feel like with Doc Rivers, I think they'll be formed. But like I said, they'll make the playoffs. But far as they need to make the Eastern Conference Finals, and if not, it's a disappointment in my eyes. Going down the second round is not acceptable. First round is definitely not acceptable. They need to be Eastern Conference Finals team or a Finals team. It's about time. Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, let's get it done. If not, you know what I say, bust it up.
Chris, do you have a rebuttal or no?
The only thing I have to say, he said everything right. We have to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. I agree with that. But listen, the process, this is why I'm going to really say I think the process has just started. We had a head coach that held everybody back. I mean, how far, like you say, you know, with the Portland Trailblazers, do we really trust Terry Stotts? I mean, I'm not even going to call him by his first name. I'm calling him Old Coach Brown. What did he ever show you with the talent that he had around him? Other coaches would have did so much. So that's why I truly believe the process had just started. Now, do they have to go to Eastern Conference Finals or will it be a bust of a season? Yes, we have to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I mean, with a new head coach, with everybody still young, I think that, like I said, the Clippers are in far worse, territory right now than the 76ers.
Oh yeah. We just talk about far as what team I look at as disappointing. I'm looking at the roster and what the Philadelphia 76ers have,
The
and I'm
best
looking at
roster we had. Oh, no,
and it's the best roster you guys had. And
Jimmy,
there's
when we
nobody
had
in
Jimmy
the
Butler,
Eastern
we was
Conference that
legit.
can really even touch Joel Embiid when
Not
he
close.
wants to
Nobody
play
can.
night in and night out. That's been my
Nobody
only
can.
issue
No,
with him.
nobody in the league can touch Joel
Yeah, when
Embiid.
he want to play 99, can't nobody mess with him.
Nobody
Can't
can
nobody
touch.
mess with him. And,
Don't
and,
say
and
Anthony Davis, because when Anthony Davis went up against DeMarcus Cousins buoyed him. That's why Anthony Davis doesn't want to play the 5.
Do we remember when Marcus Gasol kept Joel Embiid scoreless?
That's the only one. That's the only one. That's look. Marcus Gasol is probably the only center.
Yeah,
but that was 2-3 years ago. Marcus Gasol not the same. But that is the only person that Joel Embiid. I was like, everybody else barbecue chicken.
All right. All right. We've got to that point where I said I was going to get to my hot take here. Say it with me, folks. What can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah,
Atlanta Hawks. I'm going to say it right now. Atlanta Hawks, I'm dropping it.
I'm digging it. I love it.
I'm dropping it right now. I have not seen this team step on the court. I have not seen them gel together, and I think the expectations have gone absolutely through the roof due to their offseason moves, and it is a team on that list, probably right behind the Clippers, where what can go wrong will go wrong. This is going to be a team that I think is going to fall well below expectations. I think a lot of people are looking at this team as a top 6 team almost. I've seen stuff that hurt as that, and I think that's ridiculous. I mean, we haven't seen anything happen on the court. We haven't seen them play. Bold take, hot take right here. They're not going to make the playoffs. Hot take. They're not going to make it. I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to be the bold face. I want Atlanta to look at me, and I want this to be the face that you recognize whenever you are looking right here. Atlanta Hawks fans, look at me dead in the eye right now and tell me that you are going to – I'm going to tell you right now, your team's not making the playoffs. It's not going to happen. I don't believe in this team at all. I do not. I've seen what this team can do. I've seen this team. This team has a generational player in Trae Young. I mean, this guy is playing absolutely phenomenal, an offensive guy that can really control a game. I mean, this kid can literally – he's the reason that Atlanta had the wins that they had. But and they made a hell of a lot of moves. But I tell you what, I don't think this is going to gel, and I think somebody's going to be looked at to blame. I think we've mentioned it a couple times here on the network that if this can't work out for the Atlanta Hawks fans are going to start looking at Trae Young a little bit. And it's going to be, can this guy really lead a team? Can this guy really turn assets into wins? And it's going to be almost like a Karl Anthony Towns situation. We know this guy can ball, but can this guy win? And it's going to be one of those situations in which my hot take is going to say the Atlanta Hawks are not making the playoffs. This is going to be the biggest disappointment of the 2021 NBA season.
Hot take.
I told you we were getting to it.
Can't go wrong.
I didn't say when, but I knew we were getting to it. But there we are. We finally reached it. So we got a couple more topics to wrap up. One last topic before we hit our usual 1 through 3 to end it out. We're going to talk about if a player is to not perform, or let's say a team is not to perform, what player is going to get shipped out? I'm going to start with Coach Cam. If this team or this player does not perform, who's going to get shipped out of the team that they're on right now? We'll take you.
Wow. Okay. If this team doesn't perform, they out of here, huh? That's actually
team or a player or a player. Team or a player.
Team or a player.
Wherever route you want to go.
Yeah, you could say that if the player doesn't perform, they're out, or if the team doesn't perform, they're gone.
I'm just looking at. I think I'm looking at the Indiana Pacers, and I'm looking at what if they start off winning and they're top 4 seed, I think they'll keep the roster pretty much intact. But if you start hearing, disgruntled about far as Miles Turner, these guys been tossed around in trade talks all off season, and athletes, they don't like that. You know what I mean? Honestly, some of them, are sensitive to a certain degree, and they don't like to hear their names in trade talks all summer long and in this case, all winter long. They don't like that. So, I'm looking at the Indiana Pacers, and if they start off rough, you can see a Miles Turner being shipped. You can see a Victor Oladipo being shipped. You can see, they signed some bonus long term, so I think they're going to try to build around him. But far as Turner and Oladipo, you can see those guys moving if they don't really start off hot and start off winning.
All right, we'll move over to Freddie. What player do you think you could see being shipped out if they or their team does not perform?
Man, I'm gonna talk about a team that have high expectations. The expectation is to win now. You know, we've seen Paul George in the playoffs in the bubble. He did not show up at all. He choked. I mean, it was so bad. He was hitting the ball off to the side of the goal. I mean, it was bad. And if the Clippers see him, they don't trade him for the season. If they see him coming there, not looking like Paul George, and we know that he is, Jerry West is gonna get him up out of there. They're gonna try to get a help in there to help Kawhi Leonard before Kawhi Leonard just walk up and leave. Trust me, they cannot take another playoff, a pandemic P, or anything like that. They can't take that from him. And the scary thing about Paul George is he'll play good in the season, but it's when the playoffs come, you can't find him. So I expect them to keep a close eye on him. I expect for him to be in trade talks if he do not perform to a high level that we know that he can. So we just got to keep our eye out on Paul George.
Chris Brown, we'll move it to you. What player are you looking at for this topic?
Man, this is tough. Now, I just want to say I'm a big fan of this player. I think he's a very good player. But, I think if he doesn't perform this year, he might get put in a package to be up out of here. And that's Kyle Kuzma. Now, Freddie earlier said Kuzma, he's talking about defense. What I seen from Kuzma in that bubble is the step he took on the defensive end. Freddie might not want to admit it, but his defense was the reason why for sometimes he was on the court. And I think that's a major improvement when you got another guy at that wing position that can guard multiple positions. But if his offense isn't kicking in, don't be surprised if he's gone, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I'm a fan of Kyle Kuzma. I think his defense, I'm a guy, everybody likes offense. I love defense. So the fact that he was able to become a better defender, because from what he was his first couple of years to what he was, especially in that bubble, two different type of guys. And now he doesn't get enough credit for that. But if his offense doesn't take the leap that it was, before LeBron and AD came, if he doesn't become a more consistent three-point shooter, if he can't get his buckets better than what he did last year, Kyle Kuzma's gone. That's just the reality. They messed up by trading Brandon Ingram. I don't know if they picked Kuzma over Ingram or the Pelicans were smart enough to know that Brandon Ingram is better. But if they choose Kuzma over Ingram, they made a terrible mistake. And everybody knew Brandon Ingram was a better player. Everybody knew he was a better player. So I hope the Lakers didn't choose Kuzma and the Pelicans just chose Brandon Ingram, because if that's the case, they made a huge mistake. If Kyle Kuzma game doesn't, improve on offensive end just a little bit more, he could be gone.
Yeah, the Pelicans wanted Brandon Ingram over Kuzma. I mean, Ingram would not have fit with that team anyway. I mean,
he wouldn't.
He wouldn't fit with that team.
Tripping.
Him and LeBron did not play good together.
Says who?
Well, the season they played together, they did not play good with each other. No,
you see the game, how the whole roster has changed right now. You put Brandon Ingram on his roster, he's going to play better than
Ingram is the dude that needs the ball in his hand. He's not that dude.
Last year, the coach was a problem. The year, when they was top, the coach was a problem. He had way too many guys trying to be the primary ball handler. When LeBron is the main primary ball handler, then the team is fine. But when you have Kuzma, when you have bringing the ball up, you have Ingram, you have Hart, you have Lonzo, you have Rondo, you have LeBron. Luke Walton was the reason why everybody wasn't the best player that they were. You see everybody left and they're all flourishing. That I'm not going to argue with you, but my thing is that Luke Walton was the reason why everybody's game was hindered. He's a terrible coach.
And was that Luke Walton's fault or was that Magic Johnson? Because Magic Johnson was the one that came with all the playmakers, not Luke Walton.
Luke Walton's the coach, though. When you're the coach.
But when you with the bad cards you dealt, you can only do so much with it.
You could have did a lot as the coach with that team, though. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, I'm going to bring it home. We've talked about a team this year that has very high expectations. We've talked about them being a powerhouse out in the West this year. And we've talked about if this team doesn't make it happen, that they could potentially blow it all up. My player, and this has nothing to do with him, this is if the team doesn't reach where they want to be, that could be moved, is CJ McCollum. I think that is a guy who could find his way out. I don't know if Dame could be the guy to find his way out. Obviously, that'd get you a huge package if you can find a way to move on with Dame. But I think CJ is the guy who would be the odd guy out there. This is a guy who could be huge in a shooting guard position that would be absolutely helpful to so many teams. And if Portland doesn't reach where they want to be, I can imagine that this would be the season afterwards in the offseason where they start blowing things up. We've mentioned it multiple times. Again, this is another thing that we've hit multiple times on the network, talking about the Portland Trailblazers. And right now we were all saying that they're a top 3 team, or at least, arguably a top 3 team out in the West. But if they don't reach that, who do you look at? And obviously, something's going to change. With such high expectations come, like I said, an expectation. Whenever the bar is set super high, if you don't get to where you need to be, something's going to change. And they're going to have to start somewhere. And I think the first person they're going to look at to be moving is somebody like CJ McCollum. All right, let's bring it home like we typically do in the normal ASAP Real Talk fashion. We got our 1 through 3 rankings brought to you by Chris Brown, coming up with 3 players that we want to rank right now. Going from a 1 to 3 standpoint, we're looking at 3 point guards today. We got John Wall from the Washington Wizards. We got Russell Westbrook from the Houston Rockets, maybe a future team later on. And Ben Simmons from Chris Brown's Philadelphia 76ers. We're going to start with Freddie. I want you to rank these 3 gentlemen 1 through 3 on where you think their game sits.
3, John Wall. He has to be number 3. I mean, we haven't seen him the last couple of years, but we definitely think he's still productive. He is an athletic point guard. At one point in time, was the fastest point guard in the league. Gets shooters open. He's athletic. He's number 3. Number 2 is Ben Simmons. Why is Ben Simmons number 2? It's because this dude can get shooters open like nobody else can in the league. This dude can run the offense. When that dude, he's almost he's 6'8", 6'10", somewhere like that.
10.
Yeah, 6'10", running down the court like a locomotive, like that LeBron James. You either have 2 options. Either you need to go and close in on the shooters or hog the paint. Always not number 2 is because he can't shoot. Number 1 is Westbrook. Why? Yes, he's not the greatest shooter, but he can shoot better than better than Ben Simmons. But this dude can average a triple-double if you let this dude go. This dude can give you 25, 10, and 11 each and every night. Russell Westbrook has that motor that he does not quit. He will give you his all. He's a little pit bull. And I've always said this. It's like Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant that had a baby, and they spit out Russell Westbrook.
Don't disrespect. Never mind. I have a question. But how do y'all do y'all rankings? Who do y'all think is the better player, or how do y'all rank y'all guys? I'm curious to see your mindset.
Man, it just depends. Like I look at, in this particular scenario with the three that's given to us because they're very similar, but I just look at Wall hasn't played for me. So I gotta consider that. Even though I know he's good, I think he'll come back great. But pick up ball and playing 5-on-5 is just different. It is. It's a different game. So I look at that. I look at the overall thing. I look at both ends of the floor. I look at we're talking about point guard, so I'm looking at can you make for others? Can you score? Do you make players around you better? That's the key thing that I look for in a point guard. And so I'm just gonna get my list out the way real quick so we can shut it down. I'll go from 3 to 1. And it's tough because this guy hasn't played, and John Wall it has to be 3 for me just because he hasn't played. If he even played, man, if he played 40 games last year, I'm taking John Wall over Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook would easily be 3rd for me. And the reason why is because, don't get me wrong, Russell's good. But, he can lose you a game. He'll shoot you out of a game. And he went through a stretch. And I remember Russell Westbrook, he went through a stretch where he wasn't shooting threes, and he was playing wonderful when he wasn't shooting threes. He was efficient. He was getting the ball to the basket. He was playing real good ball, averaging a triple-double. In the playoffs, when he come back, he want to start chucking threes out of nowhere and bricking. Like he's out of control, and when the stakes get the highest, he plays the craziest every time. So that's tough for me. and Westbrook will be 2, Wall's 3, but that's just because Wall ain't played. That's it. And number 1 is Ben Simmons. This guy's giving you 18, 8, and 8, can be a walking triple double. If he puts his mind to it every night. A guy that makes other people better. Gets other people open shots. Not just rack up assists and numbers, but make the right plays, play basketball the right way. And you mentioned something about Westbrook can shoot better than Ben Simmons. Barely. I don't. If you can't shoot it, I don't want you shooting it. You know what I mean? Just don't shoot it just to shoot it. If you don't feel comfortable shooting the daggone shot, don't shoot it. Westbrook is a 25% 3-point shooter, but he's gonna chuck up 4 or 5 again. That's silly. That's dumb, empty possessions. I don't want that. So until Bill Simmons feel comfortable shooting jump shots, don't shoot him. I mean, don't shoot him. And now they have enough shooting around him that way it's not so. The offense is not so dependent on him stretching the floor, and I think it'll help. But Ben Simmons is the best out of these 3. Both ends of the floor, complete player. Westbrook's 2 and John Wall 3, just because John Wall ain't played.
Chris, your list to wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll go 3-1. Number 3, I have Russell Westbrook. Now, I understand what y'all said. Y'all say John Wall has to play, but for me, I'm a believer in John Wall, and I do think when he comes back, he'll be a better player. Yeah, he'll be a better player than Russell Westbrook. When I look at Russell Westbrook, everybody says, he shoots better than Ben. But like Coach Cam said, if you can't shoot, don't shoot. This dude shot 25% from the 3-point line. He plays best when he doesn't shoot the 3-pointer well. He plays best when he doesn't shoot the 3-pointer in general. They want to talk about stats. This dude is not an efficient scorer. If he's not scoring, how is he helping you out? He's going to shoot 30 shots a game and make 10. I love Russell Westbrook. I love the heart of him. But when I look at his game, if he's not scoring, he's not helping you out. If he's not scoring efficiently, he's not helping you out. This dude is scoring. Playmaking, he's not the best playmaker, but the fact that he's so aggressive, he'll get the assist. That makes you one of the best passers. By being so aggressive, you're going to get those assists. So I'm never going to take that away from him. He's probably arguably the best rebounding guard because he's so athletic, so tenacious. So I give credit where credit is due. But for this list, he's number 3. Number 2, I have John Wall. When John Wall was fully healthy, he's giving you 23 and 10. He was really that true playmaker, getting everybody involved. He was also can do it on both ends. He's a guy at 6'4" that can guard the 1, 2, and 3. I love John Wall's game. Y'all heard me say this on the show a million times, how big of a fan I am of John Wall. I think healthy, he's a way better shooter than Russell Westbrook. He can score just like Russell Westbrook and can be the same playmaker and is a better defender. But John Wall has never had to have everybody on his team be trash, and he gets to put up all the stats. He got Bradley Beal right next to him doing what Bradley Beal does. Then the game is totally different. John Wall knows chucking up 30 shots is not the best for me and my team. So that's why I have him at number 2. Number 1, I have Ben Simmons. Not just because I'm a Sixers fan, but when I look at all these games, who's the best at everything? Ben Simmons, none of them are close to the defender he is. At 6'10", he can guard the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, man. He can guard everything. On offensive end, he's getting the same amount of assists. He can rebound. His offensive game hasn't even hit his full potential, and he's still giving you 18. He can give you 30+ when he's very, very aggressive. He's the best player. He's younger than him, has the best upside. And, when I look at their impact to their teams, who has the most impact? When when Ben Simmons didn't play, when he's not playing in the playoffs, we're losing. When Russell Westbrook didn't play in the playoffs, they kind of look like the same team, if not better. John Wall, you saw when he's not playing, his team takes a big drop off. That all was a factor to me. So number 1, Ben Simmons, 2, John Wall, 3, Russell Westbrook.
All right. You've heard the list. We are here at the end of ASAP Real Talk, another great episode from everybody involved. I want to thank everybody, but we've got a big slate coming forward for you on the ASAP Network. Tomorrow night, it kicks off. I want to say, what time is it? 7:30 East Central Time. We're doing another debate here. 7:30 p.m. Central Time. If you like ASAP Real Talk, obviously you do if you're here. If you're a big fan, you're going to see another representative there of ASAP Real Talk. You're going to see myself. If I'm your favorite moderator, if I'm your least favorite moderator, if you're an Atlanta Hawks fan, you want to punch me in the mouth, feel free to come out there and come watch us on debate night, as I will be taking on Trey Colas from the network as well. And speaking of Trey, he's got a new show along with Jay. Jay and Trey are going to be joining up for Jock Talk right after our debate. don't worry about grades. Don't worry about books. It's just sports here on the ASAP network. So they will be out there bringing you everything you need to know about college sports, whether it be basketball, baseball, football. It doesn't matter. The whole nine, they're going to have it for you there at 8:30 Central Time. Right after that debate between me and Trey. But other than that, we're going to wrap it here on ASAP Real Talk. Any other closing thoughts before we dip out?
Yeah, just mention what you said, Will. Real Talk will still be here. We're just Mondays and Thursdays now, 8:30 Central. There
you go. We've moved. Now that Jock Talk is here, I want to say we've gone to Monday, Thursday, like you mentioned. Yep. So we are taking the back seat a little bit for Jock Talk. They're going to get their self a day here on Tuesday, but you will see us back on Thursday for the normal ASAP Real Talk. So feel free to come join us then. And as always, come join us. Come watch your boy go up against Trey. We're going to see if ASAP Real Talk can find their way to try to sweep their way to the finale on Thursday. But until then, we'll figure out tomorrow night. So everybody, take it easy.
Peace.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports.